Welcome to the Hell Has an Exit podcast with host Teddy Tarantino. New episodes every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget to subscribe.
All right, welcome to Hell Has an Exit. I'm your host, Teddy Tarantino. Today I have a childhood friend or friend of friends, good friend of mine, Rene. What's up, Rene?
What's up, Teddy?
How's it going, dude?
Good, man. I got to get used to this, Teddy.
Yeah.
I've known you for Bryan for so many years since we were kids.
You could call me whatever. I'm not like attached to it.
Back when we were kids in the neighborhood, I was like, where the fuck is Bryan? Go get Bryan.
Yeah, it's crazy that we've known each other so long.
Yeah, man. You know, it's crazy how the years just kind of go and they go and they go. You know, the ironic part is that, you know, we're basically just in our actual stomping grounds because we're actually in Davie.
Yeah.
And I don't come to Davie that often because I'm out east.
Yeah.
And so
I never left.
Yeah, you've been. You're true.
I love living here.
Yeah, I love Davie still. I mean, that's kind of like my goal.
To live out here?
Yeah. Because now with my daughter and stuff like that, like sooner or later, that's probably what I'd like to end up. Like,
yeah, living out west is definitely. I love it.
Schools and stuff like that.
What I was gonna say. So before we start the podcast, I just want to say that I know I fuck with you a lot, but I am very proud of you. Doing amazing in life, dude. You just got 3 years clean. And you should be really proud. A lot of people don't make it to 3 years. A lot of people don't make it to 2 years. And like I truly believe like your first 5 years, like your real foundation. And even though I feel like you could do more.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean, everyone can do more, you know. Yeah. But, you know, it's really interesting having you like in my life, you know. Yeah. I was telling Milk, like, oh, dude, no one gets under my skin more than Rene.
I don't know what it is all my life.
People say that too, right?
It's been like that, dude.
I told K-Rod and he was like, oh my God, Rene.
Forget it. But Kevin is just like, yeah. And he's kind of the same thing with me, but I mean, we go so far back. I mean, that's the thing about growing up here is just, you know, I have so many friendships that are 25, 22, 27 years old. Like, and it's just, you know, a lot of us are fathers now, but, you know, we became friends from like even at the same age as some of their kids are now. Yeah. So I see them and they're like 8, 9 or 11 years old. And I'm like, can you believe that we've been friends since the same age as your actual kid?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's outrageous to think of it like that, you know?
Yeah, you're definitely one of the few people who have like real long-term friends.
A lot. I really feel blessed about that, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, you throw addiction into the mix and you burn a lot of bridges and you hear of a lot of people that lose a lot of friends or a lot of friends die or they lose contact with them or they do them dirty. And so then the friendship just kind of goes out the window. But that's just not my story, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I've used with the same friends that I got clean with now that a lot of us have kind of crisscrossed and they did, you know, they were in severe drug addiction for a while. Then they got clean, and then I did, and then I got clean, and you know, yada yada yada. But we maintained friends like all the way through. It hasn't been that many, but there's for sure a handful.
When I was using, what was like your perception of me?
So, bro, those days it was just funny, man. Because for obviously the people that don't know, one of my best friends used to live across the street from where you grew up. So you're like 3, I think, or 4 years younger than me. And so, you know,
when you're young, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
I'm in 6th grade. You guys are in 9th grade.
Yeah. And so that was another aspect of it all because we were like, what the fuck is it with this kid, dude? We're like, why is he, what the fuck is it with him? And those days, we were just real big. Like, we were like regular, everyday kids. Like, all we ever wanted to do was play sports. And like, we would get basketball games next to your house and then the football games and, you know, that was the days when, like, you know, the Hurricanes were really good, and we thought we were like Ed Reed, and we, you know, and your brother played sports with us too.
You guys were really into sports.
Yeah,
and, like I remember. Yeah,
all my life I played soccer.
They were crazy because like prior to moving there, sports were like, hey, let's throw the football around and like tackle each other. It was you guys were like, we're gonna win this time. No, and you're gonna be on my team, and it was like,
dude, it was like
serious.
Outrageously competitive.
Yeah.
We were full blown fights and just, you know what I mean. Like we would stay out there for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it was like kind of just brings you back to like a lot of the things you see online and like memes and stuff like that about like we really just weren't in the house.
Yeah,
we really were not. And it was just a lot of sports, and then, you know, you were around, and then and the drugs were never ever a thing for us like that as teens, even, really.
Yeah.
And we would hear about you, and at first it was like coke, and then I'd be like, what the fuck is with that kid? Like, I don't understand. Like, how the fuck is he doing coke? And then the rest of the shit came around in the crack, and I would just like, get that kid the fuck away from me, dude. We were just kind of like,
yeah.
And then we would be like, no wonder he never wanted to fucking play sports. Like, he was fucking smoking crack. And it was just like, shit like that. And we'd want to, we'd get
I had this
football
one
games.
memory of going to your house, and you're like, bro, why don't you go to school?
Yeah.
Like, I think you just thought I lived
it was so odd to me.
I think you just thought I lived on the streets.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, I got kicked out of school, and I was going to like this reform school, and I was like, I think you thought I dropped out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am in school, and you were just looking at me like,
I was like,
get it together.
I was like, do you think that's cool or something, bro?
Yeah.
And then, but I know, in looking back now, it's just like not something that a lot of times we can help. And listen, I don't have no room to talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because although I didn't get into drugs that young, I still had a lot of my, a lot of my issues looking back now.
Yeah, I remember you were real scrappy, and I just
Yeah.
remember watching you fight. Like, I think I've seen you fight like 3 times.
So that was the thing, dude, and it basically got me to my knees, which obviously I'm sure we'll get to, but looking back now into like my addiction and like what makes you the way that you are and why you use and so on and so on and so on and so forth. Looking back on it, that was a thing that was definitely an abnormality of mine, because like why did I always resolve like why did it result to violence like so often with me, and why was I always the one in the middle of the fights and getting the suspensions and stuff like that in school? So and growing up in Davie, and that was kind of like a thing here, like a lot of fist fights was like a big thing.
Oh, bro, remember the Davie backyard fights?
Yeah, dude. Like, all you and your friends, like that was more your crew. You guys did that stuff.
I think I was even younger than those kids, but I was like, I think I just remember like hearing of it. I wasn't like that much into it. I just remember like it would come around, like me and Jeremy or whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't getting into those things for fights for fun, dude. I was like, I'm not fighting those cats, dude. I'm like, they can really fight. And I was like, if I have to fight, it's because I have to fight.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to defend myself. But I'm not trying to get in there. And you guys were just, so yeah, man, it all started here. As I was saying, the ironic part is like, this is our stomping grounds. Like our high school, my high school is a mile down the street.
Yeah.
I used to ride my bike in throughout here in this neighborhood. You know what I mean? And getting, using and this and that, and then getting clean and coming back here and being in the same vicinity is kind of crazy.
Even myself, like when I drive around, it's like, dude, I drive by my high school every day.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That would be pretty crazy to me. I never really come. I don't come that often.
Yeah, so it's like I drive, like, dude, I've hopped that fence. I've smoked crack in that school.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I bought mad drugs at this church.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Just
I'm
like,
sure is like,
it's weird to live here.
Yeah. Well, I went to treatment a block from where I actually grew up.
Oh yeah.
So that was a real crazy mind fuck, because it was like,
who would have thought?
All these years later, I'm gonna end up in the neighborhood next to where I grew up. Seeking treatment for drug addiction. And it was a pretty crazy thing, and it was just like, it took me a minute to kind of like, because when you're in that hole of getting in your like 2 weeks clean, your mind is at so many different miles an hour, and you're just having to really kind of just pack it all in, and it was pretty ironic.
When what was like the point where you started like doing the drugs?
So, I mean, in high school, in high school, it was like the weed thing, but I was never a weed guy. I kind of did it because my friends did it.
Yeah.
And then I never enjoyed that high. I still to this day say that like I never liked that high.
Yeah, I remember
almost every time I would smoke, and I'd be like, why the fuck did I just smoke? I was like, I don't even like being high, but all my friends were always smoking, always passing around the blunt, and I was like, all right, well, I'll hit it. But I remember specifically, I was like, I must have been like 18, and I think I did it one more time, and I was like, I'm really not going to smoke anymore, because like I really do not enjoy this. And drugs for me was never like in the cards, dude. Like I'm Hispanic, 100%, 1000% Hispanic. I wasn't even born in this country. I came here when I was like 7 years old from Chile. And it was myself, my sister, my mom, and my father. My father and my mother had me real young. So, they were 18, 19 when they had me, and they moved here when they were like 25, 26. So, I say that to say that we were a very close knit, like nuclear family. We never had uncles, aunts, cousins, grandfathers to kind of like lean on or go to or, you know, hang out with in the holidays. So it like really created a really, really strong bond that is till this day, thank God, the biggest blessing of my life, really. My relationship with my family. But so it created like a really strong bond, you know, and my father was a phenomenal father. My mother was a phenomenal mother. To this day, we have the strongest relationship you could ever imagine. And so I say that to say that drugs was not an accepted thing in my household. It was never, I never see my parents do drugs. I never seen my mom do drugs. Like even the drinking was like limited. You know what I mean? Like sure, like a normal person. But you know, so it was always like the drugs are like you're never doing drugs. Like the drugs, like that's never gonna be a thing. Like you know what I mean? Like we had all the love, we had all the attention, we had all the everything that we could ask for. And so drugs were never really in my cards, you know. And when I was a kid, all I ever did was play sports. All I ever did was play sports. From the time I was like, as far back as I can remember, like 6, 7 years old, I was like in like competitive soccer, travel soccer, middle school, high school over here. Like that's all I ever did. And so it didn't come like till a little later in life. You know what I mean? And but the fighting was the big thing. So in my life, I have like 3 things that is like a catalyst.
Yeah. So it's the fist fighting.
Right. Yeah. So that was always a thing. You know, I attribute it to like having a big mouth and having too much pride to where like I didn't see it in me to have somebody like punk me and like not do something about it.
Yeah, because I remember like a lot of people would think like, you know, Western or whatever, and like, you know, there was like Western, Cypress, Archbishop. What's the other one?
Well,
Heritage
right here,
or whatever. You know what I mean? So it was like there was a period of time where like your grade was like known for like oh, those kids don't fuck around.
Well, like that and like above me.
Yeah.
The 05 class, I graduated 06, so 05 like I mean, in all reality, like a lot of those kids at that school, like sure, we grew up in like this really nice area, but like they were not kids to be fucked with. Now again, I'm not talking about people that are gonna pull out a gun and like go shoot you at your house.
It was like people that if you talk shit to them, you're fist fighting.
There was a 100% chance that there was going to be a fist fight. Yeah. Matter of fact, it was like
even in middle school. Remember the Burger King fights?
Yeah, I was part of those fights every fucking time, dude.
And it's funny because
it just got old.
There's a kid who I used to watch fight. Like I'm friends with like his little brother, and this kid used to fuck up everybody at the Burger King, and he like went on to like be in the UFC and like,
I believe it.
Professional fight.
I believe it. It was just like a big thing in Davie, you know, and it was an always thing with me, and it caused a lot of problems in my life because it would cause me to get suspended, and then I would get in trouble at home because my parents weren't having that kind of shit, and they were on top of me all the time, and so then it caused my grades to slip, and so on and so on and so forth, and then like so you know when they had like that zero tolerance thing where like if you fight you're getting suspended 10 days no matter what, whether you started or not, so 10 days is a long time in a school for a child, you know what I mean? Like it's upwards of like 2 weeks. You might have a holiday in there, a Monday off, a Friday off or whatnot. So before you knew it, you missed like half or over half of this of the month.
Went on. Yeah.
And and you come back, and I was already not the greatest student, so it caused a lot of problems, you know. And
then it's like there's a lot of people like, oh, he got suspended. It like it creates
that
stigma.
like dude. And then everybody was like, know you for it. So at the time you think it's kind of cool and this and that, but looking back,
and then people expect you to start fighting. Yeah.
Well, yeah, man, and then all my friends that I rode with, like it was a thing to where it was just like you turn into almost like a circus animal, like he's fighting tonight, and it's just it was pretty stupid, you know. So all my life people would be like, yo, as I got older into 16, 17, 18, it was like stop doing that because now it's a different ball game. Like you're getting to be an adult, you're out in the street. You could be at a bar. There's weapons involved, and people have knives, and now there's narcotics and alcohol involved, and people do crazy things.
And then you're catching charges. Well, when you're a JIT, like it's kind of like people, you know, like I should have been arrested 50 times. Like I've been in handcuffs probably like 15 times. I've only been arrested like 4 times.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're young, the cops would come put you in handcuffs and like call your parents or whatever. But it's like I do remember like the parties back then. Like one thing, like I think I was like in 7th grade, and I would go to like all the high school parties with like K-Rod and
you
like
were
all
always
these people.
around like older kids.
Yeah, and I remember like I would come around and I would like serve Coke to people in like 7th grade, and people would just be like,
I would remember. I'd be like, there's fucking Bryan. He probably has a bunch of fucking blow on him. What is it with this? Because back then there wasn't a blow thing.
Yeah, no,
we weren't into it like that.
Yeah, people were like, why are you always skeeted?
We'd be like, I guarantee this fucking kid's got blow on him, bro. Like, get the fuck out of here, Bryan. But but then it was like we would get you around and be like, yo, Bryan, he's mad, he's fucking hilarious, bro. And then we would hear stories about the shit that you would do. So we'd like somebody would be like, yo, K-Rod would come because he would live right with you.
Yeah.
And he would be like, bro, you won't believe what the fuck happened with Bryan. And then I was like, bro, don't tell me again, bro. And I'd be like, what is it?
Yeah.
And then he was like, he was like, well. So he was at this I remember this story, so I got to tell the story.
Okay.
So he's at this concert, and it just so happened that it was an ex-girlfriend of mine that became a girlfriend of mine later after that, I think.
Okay.
And she was like, so it was like at a concert.
Yeah, but you got to tell the story about when you like leave rehab.
Of me?
When you
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you fast forward now many years. So she reaches out to me, hey, I hope you're okay. I heard what happened. Da 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 da.
Okay, hang on. Just so people know. So like years later,
right?
I own a rehab.
Right.
Been clean a long time. You go to the rehab,
right.
And then this girl asks you like how you been or whatever.
How you been? I heard what happened. Da da da. This and that. And I was like, yeah, you know what I mean. Like shit got real bad. Da 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 da. Thank God I'm doing a lot better now. This, that, and the third. Thank God for Bryan. He brought me over. He let me come over. He let me get clean. Da da da. At his place. And she's like, Bryan. I go, yeah, Bryan. I was never in a million years thinking that she would ever know who you are.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, Bryan Alzate. I don't know if you. I don't think you know him. I mean, yeah, we're from the same area, but I don't think you ran with the same circle. I don't think you know him.
Because I was like a lot younger.
Yeah, she was like, I know Bryan. Are you kidding me? I was like, what are you talking about? At this point, I'm like, she's got to be confused.
Yeah.
And she was like, I was at a concert one time with my friends, and Bryan comes over. And he's like tripping on acid or mushrooms. I don't know. It looked like he was on a cocktail of like 7 different drugs. All of a sudden, he pulls his pants down. He starts jerking off. And I was like, at this point, I'm like, this can't be Bryan, bro. Then he's like, the cops come over. They tase him, and he tries to fight the cop. And I was like, are you fucking... And I was like... And it was to the point where I wanted to... and I wanted to ask you, but I was like, I didn't know how to approach you because I was like...
Well, I think I had told, because I normally tell this. So this is like the story of like when I got tasered on acid at the 311 concert. So I normally tell people that story, but I just leave out the part of me like jacking off in the parking lot. Because it's
you gotta put that in there because that just makes it. That just throws it over.
Sometimes
the top.
It's just like so
it's
ridiculous that you just don't even believe it, and like sometimes it's just like such a humiliating part of my story that I don't tell people.
Yeah, I know. And as I was saying it, I was like, should I say that part? But then I was like, I gotta say the part. Mm-hmm. So things like that, bro. Drugs really turn you into something that you're not. Me, myself, yourself, and everybody involved. Mm-hmm. So. There was a lot of stories like that, bro. And it was just like, it was never ending with you. And then I was like, he's going to die. I was like, he's going to die or he's going to end up in prison. There wasn't a shadow of doubt in my mind that you would end up dead or in prison.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't see no other way out for him.
A lot of people who see me now, they're like, even like our friend out there, he's like, I don't think you're a real drug addict. You were so young. So a lot of people say that to me, like, you were so young, I couldn't even imagine you on drugs. Or like, you're so nice now.
I could.
Like, yeah, of course.
I could.
So it's like a lot of people think that, oh well, how bad could it really have been? You were 17.
Yeah, no, it was extreme. It was severe.
But it was like,
can get.
So you got to imagine. So it's like being so young and being on those hardcore drugs. No, it's not like there was a group of us.
Nobody did that.
Nobody was doing
that. You were like on a Lone Ranger mission, bro. With the pills and stuff like that, like people started getting involved.
More into it, but it was like, bro, Bryan's like hanging out with 40-year-olds.
Yeah, but then you started like stealing and like and like and all that kind of shit, and that was the other shit that we kept hearing about.
I would rob everybody.
And I would just be like, yo, I'd come with Kevin and be like, yo, is he like, what's up with Bryan? Is he dead yet? Or like, is he in prison? He's like, no, he's just suspended right now. But, oh no, he got arrested. Or no, he's at this reform school or whatever. I'm like, that shit ain't going to work for Bryan, bro.
I went to military school.
I'm like, military school is not going to work for Bryan. I was like, what a waste of time. They should have just left him here with us. Mm-hmm. And, so yeah, man, and as the years progressed, and again, the drugs never really came to play.
So when did the violence really
So it all
off.
came to a head, dude. It all came to a head. So I kept getting all those warnings, and I kept getting people to tell me, like, stop doing that, stop doing that. Like, it's not cool, this, that, and the third. Long story short, bro, we were at a party that we shouldn't have been at. A buddy of mine gets into a fight, a one-on-one fight. It was a scuffle. One thing leads to the next. He beats him up real bad. I'm talking like missing teeth, like things that, like, not like a regular fight. My buddy was really good at street fighting. He's like an animal. And so then he goes through the party with all his people. They think we jumped him, but we never had. So before you know it, there was a party of maybe.
It was a one-on-one.
It was a one-on-one.
But people just thought he got jumped.
People assume he got jumped because of how he looked, and we were all back there when it happened. And one thing led to the next. Now all of a sudden you have a party of like 200 people turn at us. There was probably like 4 of us, and they're coming at us now. So, you know, I jump the fence. I run 100-something yards to my car. One thing leads to the next. I retrieve a knife from my car to try to defend myself. And I just start getting it. There was probably like 8, 10, I don't know how many people.
So the way I recall is that you were in the car. You were trying to get out of the car.
No, not quite. I had ran. The house was at the end of a cul-de-sac. So I ran all the way to the stop sign, and then I turned. My car was parallel parked in between cars. So my go-to, initially what I wanted to do was get to my car, open the door. This was a Dodge Intrepid. There wasn't no, like, we're not remote starting nothing. We're not, unlocking anything from a key fob. My plan was to open the car door, get in the car, and just take off. And I was maybe going to come back around for my friends or whatever. But at that time, I was panicking. And it was like 10, 12 people behind me. And I was like, I just got to get the fuck out of here. But by the time I got to my car, they were already like 3 to 4 feet behind me. So I was like, I have no other time to do anything else. I have to grab the knife in order to maybe just scare them off and be like, hey, back off. I have something. I have this knife. Like, I had nothing to do with that fight. It was one-on-one, but it was no time for that. They were drinking. Everybody was drunk.
They were going to beat your ass.
They were going to beat my ass regardless. One thing leads to the next, and dude, it turns up somebody dies. You know what I mean? Somebody actually dies. And
you didn't even know that, right?
It was the wildest thing, dude. It was the wildest thing. Like, I didn't realize it wasn't like how you see it in the movies, or maybe like how you know how it actually does happen at times. They say that allegedly, like, in the scuffle,
were they trying to all jump you and you were just swinging the knife around crazy?
So towards the end, I was, because at first I was like, stop, or I was trying to, like, kind of just, cover up it. Towards the end, I finally was like, because now I started getting real scared because I started to get hit real hard, and I was like, hey, I must have screamed at some point, like, back up, or I got a knife, or something, and at some point I must have swung it, but I never remember it touching anybody. Allegedly, so they say, is that, like, the person grabbed his side and then just walked off, and it was one of those things where, like, even after everything unfolded, it was like not even like a trained SEAL could have, like, could just kill somebody like that on purpose. It was just like a freak accident. So I never knew until like a day or two later. My buddy calls me. He's like, hey, man. He's like, have you seen the news? And I was like, no. What do you mean? He's like, about that fight from last night or the night before. I was like, no, what about it? He's like, bro, they're talking about they're looking for 2 6-foot-tall white males that somebody got stabbed and died. And I was like, at first I was like, I didn't even register. I was like, well, that had nothing to do with us. Maybe it was something else, another fight, another person, another group or whatever. And they were like, no, dude, like that. It was us. It was you. Remember? Because I remember when I got back to my dad's, I was pissed off because I had just said to my friend, hey, I'm trying not to do this anymore, bro. We're already 18, 19 years old. Like, this is old already. I don't want to be. I had nothing to do with that initial fight. You didn't have to fight him like that. You could have just dealt with it another way. And I think I might have even stuck somebody with this fucking knife. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. You didn't stick. You know what I mean? You didn't. No, you didn't. And I was like, well, let's check. And at that time, like, I think we opened it and we didn't even see anything on it. And we just chucked it right in the lake. And that was it. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And
how old are you at this time?
I'm 19.
Wow.
So now all of a sudden there's like first-degree murder charges that are being filed. And that was a thing that was like, bro, it's hard to put into words, dude, because it's hard for me to explain to somebody, like, the feeling of, like, taking somebody's life, because it's not like stepping on ants. You know what I mean? And then you couple that with the fact that, you're literally watching your entire life just kind of crumble before your very eyes before it ever started. Mm-hmm. So now I'm thinking like, you know, at best I'll be maybe 40 when I get out, if ever. Because now you're only 19, so you got all these thoughts going through your head like nonstop.
Yeah, you're getting 15 years.
So, you know, it was one of those things where like I ended up turning myself in like 2 weeks later, and they were like, you know, I told the guys, I was like, listen, I'm gonna tell you everything that happened. I have nothing to hide, but I need to speak with my lawyer because at least I knew enough to not say nothing stupid. And looking back on it now that I know the law a little bit better, it should have been the end of it. But the detectives, I don't know what it was, but they had like this thing that they wanted to get, even though they already knew exactly what happened because they got all the other testimonials from other people.
It was clear that it was self-defense.
Right, but they wanted me to say it. They wanted me to tell them for my, you know, legally all that shit. It's a confession. Mm-hmm. So after like 8-9 hours of them like breaking me down, I finally ended up telling them, which ended up helping me out in the long run because during the deposition in front of the grand jury, the detectives were able to say like, I was crying my eyes out. I was like, you know what I mean? This was an accident. I was defending myself. I was trying to leave. I had nothing to do with the fight.
And then you have all these priors. Did they bring that up?
No, so I didn't really.
So so you never got arrested for fighting prior to this?
No, it was always just suspension. So I never had those problems with like the law. Never. I gotten arrested, I think, a little bit before for a misdemeanor, which was like some bullshit. Like that they said, resisting arrest without violence. It's like $100 fine. But I was never the kid to get in trouble like that.
Yeah,
I wasn't like that bad of a kid. Like the fighting was one thing.
Yeah, you would always fight, but it wouldn't end like in handcuffs.
No. And back then it was like, it's not like it is today. Like they make it a big deal. They put it on social media. They got all these videos. People are commenting thousands of things.
Could you imagine if they had videos? I always thank God there's no videos of me doing like something so dumb.
I get scared thinking about like my daughter and like in the next 15 years going to school and stuff like that with this technology and phones, because if it was around when we were around, I don't know how we would have been able to handle it. So, you know, that was a really big, crazy thing in my life. And I thank God every day that it worked out the way that it did. It sucks that it had to happen. I wish that it never happened. If I could take it back, I would have just taken the ass whooping. But at the same time, it's like you don't know what kind of ass whooping you're going to get.
Yeah, people die all the time.
Now you're 19 years old. You're getting jumped by people that are adults. You know what I mean? Like before you know it, you catch a boot to the face and you're dead or brain dead or blind. And so
you know what was crazy is that even though that sounds crazy, growing up there was like a couple of kids that we grew up with who were all facing attempted murder charges. It was like crazy to think about, because now like, bro, I have friends who have kids who are 16. Their friends aren't catching like attempted murder or stabbing anybody. And there was time I remember when that happened with you, I was thinking about myself. So there was a time when I got jumped.
I remember.
And I got like
out west.
Yeah. So I remember like that
was another thing. Well, sure he did get jumped, bro. I'm like, how many people has he robbed in the last year?
I remember I called K-Rod after I got jumped, and I was like, I thought he would be like, yeah, I'm gonna like go fuck them up for you or something. I thought and K-Rod was like, about time someone whooped your ass. Bro. And I remember when I hopped in the car with them, I immediately knew I was getting jumped because the kid on the phone wasn't in the car, and I knew they were setting me up. And I remember the first thing I did was reach back to grab my knife. Yeah. And literally, thank God you did. 2 days before, my dad hugged me, and he like felt the knife. Yeah. And he's like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Just in case." And he was like, "Bro, we live in a gated community. Like, what are you doing, bro?" Yeah. And I remember my dad took the knife, but bro, there was like 5 kids who they jumped me and whooped my ass. Yeah. And I remember thinking like, bro, I was gonna pull the knife out, and who knows what I would have done with it.
There's no telling.
So it's like, when you get jumped and stuff like that, like, dude, the person's gonna resort to anything. They have no idea. Like, you think you're gonna die.
You get down to like you're animalistic. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if you get an animal and you
5-on-1, yeah, what are you gonna do?
And now you're starting to. You know, and I had been in so many different scuffles that I was able to keep my wherewithal about me, and I was able to like maintain some sort of calmness until it got to the point where I started to get scared. And when somebody gets scared, there's no telling what they'll do, because you could either flight or fight. And at that point, there was no running, so there was only fight. Yeah. So it was just an awful thing, bro. It was really difficult on my family, bro.
How long was it? Like how many months of you?
So, bro, it was really fast.
Really?
It's extremely fast. So it happened January 20th, 2007. I turned myself in January 29th. I was in jail for 2 weeks, from January 29th till Valentine's Day. The grand jury was like 3 or 4 days after that. A day later, the charges were dropped. Because they were basically like, look, this kid had nothing to do with the initial scuffle. He ran over 100 yards to try to leave. They chased him down and they attacked him. Yeah. Couldn't leave. Then they attacked him. And it's his law-abiding right as a U.S. citizen to stand your ground and defend yourself. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, I didn't have to do all that running. I could have just done it right then and there, but that's not what I wanted to do. Plus, I didn't have nothing on me anyway. Mm-hmm. But if I could go back, I would do that. I would, again, well, you could take it with a grain of salt because, again, going back to what I was saying, you don't know what kind of ass whooping you're going to get. Yeah. So to anybody out there that's like, listen, do as you will, but like just know you don't ever know what kind of ass whooping you're going to get.
Yeah, you could be laid out on the floor and someone soccer ball kicks your face.
That's
and
it.
You die.
You're dead, or you're brain dead, or you're blind. Mm-hmm. You lose an eye.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things, bro. It was extremely difficult on my family, bro. Mm-hmm. Like it crushed my family. It crushed my mom. It crushed my dad, my sister. It was a really, really tough time.
What was it like dealing with all like the people talking about it? Because I remember when that happened, it was like
it like broke the early internet days.
Everybody was like, "Oh my God, Rene did that." Whatever,
thing. It was all in the papers
for years later.
Yeah.
Whenever someone
I dealt with a lot of shit even years later because it was people. It was real difficult for me. I kind of left town and went to Orlando to live, to go to school, whatever. But even up there, I had problems because the issue was that everybody knew who I was and what I looked like, but I would never know who they were or what they looked like. So I created like a sixth sense of being out in public and having people look at me or stare at me in a weird way. Mm-hmm. So I would pick up like small cues, and I would be out with friends, and I would be like, "Don't look now, bro, but there's this cat in the corner like at your 9 o'clock, and I guarantee you that there's something involved with that shit because he's looking at us funny." And they'd be like, at first they're like, "Get the fuck out of here, bro. Like, how many times you?" Yeah. And then after a while, it became to a thing. It got to be a thing to where it was like, okay, well, maybe we should just get the fuck out of here, which we did do a lot of times. Yeah. Or other times it was like, all right, we'll just be cool. You know what I mean? And maybe it wouldn't materialize to something, or maybe it would. Mm-hmm. But it was like a really difficult time, bro. I was really like torn up about it in a way. I mean, I dealt with it in a good way because I would speak with people that I looked up to, or older people, or friends, or family, or mentors, and I would like bounce it off of them, and they would be like, "Dude, you gotta understand, you can't let this like destroy you mentally because it was an accident. It was a tragic, traumatic accident that you wish that didn't happen, and that like you didn't go out to do." Mm-hmm. And so I internalized that, and it got to the point where it was like, it wasn't. It was a shitty thing that happened, and it's a fine line between saying it wasn't my fault. You know what I mean? I like saying that because like it's something that did happen that was, by definition my fault, but it was something that I just, I would have liked not to happen.
Yeah, of course.
So then little by little, now we're getting into our 20s. I got off of that. You would think that it would be like from there, it would be like
smooth sailing.
Or you would be like, all right, like I got a second chance. Like I was facing 20, 30 years in prison. Like, I was in jail. I was in Broward County Jail, and I remember going to put on the regular scrubs. And like, no, you're putting these on. Like you're going to the 6th, 7th floor, which was like, maximum custody inmate, like printed across the top. When that was a whole nother thing, like the 2 weeks in there while I was in there, and it was just like that's a whole nother experience I can get into.
What was it like?
It was like surreal, bro. I'm 19 years old. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm white. I have like a weird thing. All my life I've had like a weird thing where like I'm very, very pale white, and I have like light hair, and I have like light eyes. Hispanic. But I'm Hispanic. Yeah. So like there's thousands and thousands of stories that I have of like different things that like that I have interactions with people, whether it be women, problems, fighting, hookups, business, where it's just like people are so blown away or so thrown aback because Spanish is my first language, and I do speak Spanish the same way as I speak English, and I read it and write it the same way as I do English. And so when I was in there, and then my name is Rene on top of it all, so it's just like, why the fuck is your name Rene? Like you're a white guy, your name is Rene, that's a girl's name. Like what the fuck? Yeah. You're Spanish? You speak Spanish? Where the fuck is Chile? Who the fuck is from Chile? I don't even know anybody from Chile. Yeah. And I remember walking in with like, they give you the shit, like your bed, the toiletries, your bed, this, that, and the third. And I was just like, bro, I just cannot fucking believe I'm in here, bro. This is an 18-hour lockdown unit. You get out like, a couple hours in the evening, a couple hours in the morning. You know, I remember the Super Bowl was that. Well, I was in there for the Super Bowl one year. It was I'll never forget. It was the Bears versus the Colts. And Nicole Smith died at the Hard Rock while I was in there. Those are things that just burn into your memory that you never. Then my shit's all over the news, so they're watching it on the news, and they're like, "Yo, white boy, that's you on the news." And then I would just be like, "Man, you don't want to talk about it because you know enough to never talk about shit, your charges in jail, because that's the worst thing you could do." You know, just be like, "Man, it ain't what you think," or whatever, bro. And then there was like some real deal murderers in there, bro. Like I remember my cellmate. You never want to get to the conversation of being like, "So what'd you do?" Or "Why are you in here?" But it comes up, and you spend enough time with somebody. And, you know, down here in South Florida, like the Haitian voodoo thing is like a really big thing. He was like, "I killed my mom, and then like I got like attempted murder with my dad because of these voices and this, that, and the third." Like he was disturbed, and he's sleeping up underneath me. So I'm like, I'm not sleeping for the whole rest of the time I'm here, bro. I was like, I'm not sleeping, bro. I legitimately remember like staying up probably like 36 to 48 hours until finally I just went comatose. But I was like, but thank God he was a little smaller. He was like my size or a little smaller. So I'm like, worst case. I was like, but what if he has a knife or some shit? It was outrageous, bro. People were in there for arsenic and murders and attempted murders and gang affiliated shit and drug dealing and stuff like that. Because, you know, when you're up there on the 6th, 7th floor is people that do real serious things. And I just couldn't believe my life had gotten to that point, bro. Like it was like I was like beside myself, bro. I was like, I'm not built for this, bro. I'm not from the streets, dude. I'm not a gangbanger. I don't come from a broken home. I don't come from like this kind of background, bro. Like, how am I facing a murder charge, bro? I couldn't believe it, dude. So yeah, man, it was just, you know. And then I got out, and they lowered the bond real low, which was odd to me. So I was like, how do you have a $35,000 bond on a murder charge? So then things started to unravel, and like, you know, the facts started coming out that this really was self-defense, and like I shouldn't have been in the beginning.
Thank God people said the truth, you know what I mean?
Well, right, the witnesses.
You're always like, dude, these people could all say that I was the antagonist.
Yeah, 100%. That was one of my worries for sure. But it was a real painful time for my family, bro, and it was something that I wish that I never had to go through or put my family through. So there's been a few things that I wish that I, like, you know, and I really do think that like I attribute it to like drug addiction and like addiction or having the disease of addiction, because once you start to uncover the layers of addiction and start to realize that the drugs are just a symptom of a much larger issue, you start to look back and you're like, well, not this makes a lot more sense now.
Well, you're chasing that adrenaline. So it's like it's that drug. So it's like that drug is like,
could have been,
you know, someone who's not an addict has the ability to say no.
Right.
But it's like and then if they can say no, they have a negative consequence and they're able to change due to the negative consequence.
Right.
Like addiction defies negative consequences. Most people learn through negative consequences. So all these negative consequences keep coming and you're not learning.
Right. And I kept going. And
I'm sure you'd be like, I ain't never fighting no one again. And then you would fight again. You know?
Well, not after that time.
Yeah.
After that time, I think that.
So after that time, you've never been in a fist fight?
Bro. I really don't think so, bro. I think I got punched one time downtown for no reason.
Yeah.
And I was like already getting a little older anyway. And I was like, what the fuck? This is why I don't fucking come down here. And I think I remember my jaw was like swollen, like shut. Thought I broke it. Wow. This kid punched me for like no reason. I had nothing to do with nothing. So you would think, going back to what I was saying, you know, that like I would get on this straight and narrow path. Like I got the second chance. Like, let me do right. Like, let me not fuck up. Let me make sure I take full advantage of all like my opportunities and my resources and stuff like that. And it wasn't like that, you know. I was good at business from a young age, so I did get into business. I went to school in Orlando for a couple of years, then I came back here. I started a business with my buddy, which was like a loan, like a funding group, and that started to go well. And at that time, it was like the economy was real bad, but it was starting to get back up. And I started working at the Hard Rock. And I worked at this restaurant called Moderano's, which to this day has been around for 30 years, and it's basically a nightclub. A restaurant inside a nightclub. At this time, my best friend to this day, still one of my best friends, shout out Jordy. He owned a pharmacy, right? So let me backtrack a little bit. So by the time I was like 18, 19.
Are you doing coke already at this time?
So by the time
I know what gets the motor going, bro.
Yeah, bro. That was like the appetizer, bro. So by the time I was 18.
So what happened from like Coke is gross to like I like Coke?
Yeah. So like it was like never a thing, right? Never in high school. It was just like, bro, that's out of bounds. Like we might fuck with weed or whatever else, but that's it. It wasn't like, oh, weed and pills. No, there was no pills for us back then either. Not my group of friends. So at that point, I had a friend that was like, hey, you know, whatever. I got this blow, and I was probably like 18. I still remember. I was living in the neighborhood I grew up in, basically. And I was like, no, bro, what the fuck? Are you crazy? I'm not trying to do this. I'm like, no, man, no. One thing leads to the next. We try. But it never like I heard you talk about it in the podcast before, where it's like it doesn't bite you. It didn't never bite me like that. It was a drug that was always around. I mean, if you're from South Florida. And probably a lot of other places in the United States, but I don't know what it's like.
Coke is around.
It's just everywhere, bro. And it turned quickly into like, it's always around. If you're drinking, you're partying. If you're partying,
girls like it.
Girls love it. You're the cool dude that
cool,
has it, that has it. It's not looked and frowned upon like as this nasty drug.
Yeah.
It's accepting almost like as alcohol.
Yeah, and it's almost like there'll be like a couple of girls or whatever who are just like, you know, around, and then as soon as they hear that you have Coke,
forget it, dude.
Yeah,
forget it. It's like magic, bro.
Yeah,
it's like magic, and it's just like, and then you just like we're like animals, so you learn patterns and behaviors, and we're just like, every time I have this shit, I got this fucking fine ass girl that wants to party and hang out, so why not?
Yeah, just always have it.
And then it was the downtown every weekend, and I was always a big partier, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like in my 20s, like partying was like pedal to the metal, hard rocks till 4 or 5 in the morning. I became real good friends with the general manager of Live. He hooked me up. I used to bring him pills. I used to bring him meatballs from the restaurant. I used to, you know, I break them off, and
so
it was the biggest.
Let's go from like Coke to pills.
So the Coke was always around, but it never was like my thing. Coke was one of those.
So you liked Coke, but you never were like, you never got bit by you. Like you would do it if it was around. You would
I
go
would
get
do
it,
it,
to like have
and
fun,
I would
but
get
you
it,
weren't like
and I would
into
get
it.
my own too sometimes. But like it was a party thing. Like I couldn't ever imagine or justify me personally sitting there like on my own by myself, like drinking or not drinking, and just doing blow.
Yeah,
it was like a thing that just didn't ever make sense to me.
Yeah,
and it was also one of those things where if you did do it, the next day you were like, get this shit the fuck away from me, dude. Like I cannot even imagine. I would throw it out if I had it.
Oh, you're crazy.
Yeah, I would throw it out. I know that you would be licking the bag till like it was like stuck to your gum for a couple days.
Oh, dude, I'd be fucking walking around trying to break into cars.
If I had a long night and I had some left over, which really wasn't that often, I was throwing that shit out.
You're crazy.
Yeah, I was like, no, fuck that.
So
now my buddy owns a pharmacy, and it was just like free reign, bro. So all of a sudden, he starts bringing around hydrocodone, Percocet, promethazine lean, and little by little, you can't. So there's people that like take it and they hate it and they throw up and they never go back to it, and there's people that like us that do it, and like the receptors in our brain maybe are different, but it's a feeling that like you really love and enjoy, because it's like to us, it's like how can you not? You feel so warm and you're fuzzy and you're relaxed and this and that. And if you're stressed or if you're worried and this, that, and the third, it takes it all away.
I always tell people it's like a cold morning and you wake up and then it hits you that you got nothing to do today. And then you roll over and press the snooze button and just get all warm and go back to sleep.
It, dude.
Like that feeling is like constant, but it's like you start doing that. You start pressing snooze on your whole life.
That's it.
Where it's like no matter what's going on, bro, you do pills and it's just like.
That's it. And then, bro. You know, everybody's story of addiction as you get into the rooms and as you hear from other people that battle addiction is different. Some people will do pills for a month or two and right away they're shooting heroin. Some people might overdose. Some people might die. Some people. So my story with drug addiction was a story of the longest slow roll of life, which is fascinating in the aspect that my disease figured in my eyes, this is how I see it. My disease figured out that this would be the only way that it would be able to get me to do what it wanted to do. Because there wasn't going to be any shooting up anything. There wasn't going to be me driving to Overtown to pick up heroin. I had that wherewithal to where it was like, I'm not getting to that.
Yeah. Yeah, like the way I used to view you guys was like
soft porn shit, bro.
When I used to do drugs with like some of our friends, like or your friends or whatever, they're like, "Don't tell nobody we did this."
Yeah,
shit.
that was always a thing. Don't you fucking tell nobody we got this blow. Or
I would be like, bro, who cares?
At
like,
the beginning,
whatever.
Specifically, like in our early 20s, just to be like, bro, I don't want people knowing that we're fucking doing this shit.
Doing pills or whatever.
Pills or blow. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. It was like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so basically that just started little by little, dude. Mm-hmm. Just every once in a while. And we would just take it and cook at the crib at one of my boys' houses, and we would watch movies, and it was just like the most benign thing ever. We weren't.
Yeah, so the problem with pills is that when it first started coming around Broward County, no one knew how hardcore they were. So it wasn't how addictive. Like, bro, when people are doing coke, it was like a warning sign, like, this is cocaine. And then like heroin, it's like, bro, you're doing heroin. But when pills came out,
it was dressed up so nice.
Dressed up. It was like from CVS.
Doctor's name was on the bottle,
it, bro. It was like, how bad could it really be?
Driving in no hood,
and
to
then
pick
you don't.
It up.
You don't. It's not like Xanax where you're intoxicated and black out. You know exactly what's going on.
You're feeling like $1 million.
It's almost as if when you do pills, like someone just turned on some music.
Basically,
it's
that's
like,
one way to put it.
It was just like, oh, we could just listen to music while we cook, and we could like watch this or whatever. It was just like amplify the mood, but it didn't seem like getting on a roller coaster ride.
No, dude, it was just like a thing that like you just enjoyed doing, bro. Like it was like a thing that it was just,
and it was never like, oh, what if we get addicted to this? Like never.
For the longest time, I was like, not me.
I thought it was a myth.
Yeah, I was like, not me. I was like, I've been doing this shit on and off now for like a while now, and I was like, I'm straight. I'm good. Like, you don't see me up under no bridge. I still got a house. My cars, this, that. I'm making money. I got a business. Like,
when did you start thinking you were withdrawing?
Bro, it probably wasn't a while. Like I told you, bro, it slow rolled for so long. And see, you know, I've heard a lot of your stories and people that have been on the podcast that say that they perennially withdraw throughout the years that they used. So I always had money. It wasn't like, I'm not trying to paint a picture like I was some rich
guy,
sure. But I always had money to maintain my habit.
Yeah.
Right.
But do you think that you weren't withdrawing just because you always had the pills?
Most certainly after a little while. Yeah, for sure. So that was like a thing to where like, I don't know exactly when I can pinpoint it, but it got to a point relatively like towards the beginning where I wasn't in denial about the fact that I had a problem.
Gotcha.
I knew that I had a problem and I knew that I was addicted to these pills.
But did you think like one day you'll handle it?
I figured at some point it would come to an end, but I never could have in 1,000 years seen what that end could be or would be like.
Yeah, because when you're on drugs,
in
your mind, you think like you could just close this book and put it away at any time.
And I see people today, loved ones, dear friends of mine, and I see them in active addiction, and I see so many similarities of myself in themselves where, I mean, these people have a lot of money or they do very well in life, and you see them slowly going deeper and deeper into that hole, and you kind of just feel helpless because you're like, I guess I've told them in so many other ways, but it's just like, if anybody knows anything about addiction, you know that person's never going to stop unless they're ready to stop. Yeah. And money is a crazy cushion for drug addiction because it masks like everything is all gravy when it's not.
Yeah. So I always tell people like the hardest person to treat is the person who doesn't think they have a problem. So like when you're functioning,
right,
it's really hard for you to really get help because you don't think you need the help.
Exactly.
When someone's like, dude, getting infections from shooting up, like living under a bridge. It's like it's living under a bridge. It's like blatantly obvious you need help.
And that's what I wish that mine was like would have been like.
Yeah,
that's saved me years.
Like I got clean so young because my shit was like
blaring. You had sirens going off in your forehead.
Everybody was like, dude, you're gonna die. And then it was like I couldn't even lie to myself. I like that feeling of like. There was a time where I was like, I'm not going to die. And then there were like my last 2 years of using. It's like, oh, now I could really see it.
I thought you were going to die, bro.
Yeah.
I shit you not. I was like, bro, Brian's going to die. Brian's not making it to his 21st birthday, bro.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where it was just like we were all in agreement. We were like, no, fuck it. I would say it, and then my boy would be like, there's no fucking way he's making it till 20. They would start drawing straws, be like, hey, make it till he's 19. Oh, hey, make it till he's 18. I'll be surprised if Brian's alive next month.
Yeah.
So it was sad, bro.
And even back then, that was pre-fentanyl.
Yeah, bro. So you would never made it, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Never.
I don't think you would have made it.
When did you know that I got clean?
Bro, it was probably like a couple of years later when like I started seeing you on Facebook and stuff like that, and you started popping up with the motorcycles, and I was like, Brian's selling motorcycles?
Yeah.
I was like, he's probably pawning them or stealing them and to get drugs.
Yeah.
And then people were like, nah, Brian's clean. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean clean?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, clean, he doesn't do no drugs. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. I was like, you're telling me that Bryan doesn't smoke weed or even drink?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, no, bro, he's in NA and he doesn't do drugs.
Yeah.
And I was just like dumbfounded, bro. I was just like, so not to get off topic, but spiritually, like God, my faith in my life has been a constant since as far back as I can remember. Even through addiction and even through severe addiction, I never lost faith.
Yeah.
I never was questioned God. In fact, I always would pray to God, even during severe addiction. I would say, God, I have like this weird dynamic relationship with God that like people would make fun of me in the past before, because it's like when I pray or when the relationship that I have with God is like I talk to God like I'm talking to myself or a friend, but so it like if you're like looking at me or paying attention, it would look like I'm talking to myself. And I've always been like that. And but my faith has never wavered ever. Even when I was in the jam with like going to jail or prison for life, like I was like, and then when I got out of that, I was like, that's God, bro. I was like, that's a miracle, bro. I was like, how are you gonna look at me and say that that's not a miracle, bro? I should be in prison. I should be in prison, but like I could have easily gone to prison.
Yeah.
So even when I was using, bro, I was like, this will never. And then so going back to what I was saying when it came to you, I was like, bro, that's a miracle. I was like, bro, that's God. I was like, you can't tell me that like that God ain't real, bro. I'm like, that's God's doing. Until this day, I really have a visual of in my head with the hundreds of thousands of people that have died because of drug addiction in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Even though it's always been that way. I truly feel so lucky and blessed that like I look at God like like when you go to the carnival and then there's the claw.
Yeah.
I feel like me being alive and you being alive and some of our friends that when you hear the shit like I'll say like a Ryan O or like, people like that that are like thriving and that are doing good in life and that are a strong, pillar of the community and they're like in like a productive member of civilization. I'm like, that's God. So I honestly feel like God is up there with like a claw and he's just like randomly, miraculously picking out the chosen few. I really feel like that. I feel like I'm like one of the chosen few.
Yeah, that, you easily could have died and for whatever illogical reason, not because we're better than or whatever, just through mercy.
You can't explain it. Why him and not me? Yeah. Why is he alive and I'm not? How many people, thank God. You know what I mean? Like
I always see it like
knock on wood with you, bro, but it's just it's a tough thing what you've lived through these past 15 years, bro, because it's a testament to your
because
recovery.
I remember when you got clean, I would try to explain to you like all the deaths and stuff, and you'd be like, "No way."
You would show me on your phone, on your notes. You still have it. I'm sure if you pull your phone out right now.
Yeah.
I remember one time you showed me, and I was just kind of like, "You mean to tell me you know all those people that are on your list?" And you're like, "What do you mean, bro? Those are some of my closest friends. So one of those kids is my ex-sponsee."
Yeah. I
was like, "He died." And I was
so it's like in recovery, there's probably like 50, 60 people.
That's insane.
That I would consider like family that have died. Like
I've heard it on speaker tapes. Like, people have been like, the disease of addiction has waited fucking hundreds of years, specifically 100 years, to like really flex his muscles the way that it is right now, because it's never been the way that it is right now. And so I really like, my gratitude these days is just like something that I really, it's one of my strongest attributes. I have a lot of friends of mine that do very well in life, that are very ahead in life, that do very well financially, probably, better than me. But you know what I mean? I'm happy for them. I love them to death. sometimes I look back and I'm like, damn, I wasted so many years. I could be like that too. But I'm so grateful for the position that I'm in.
Yeah.
That like it doesn't make me bitter.
So a lot of people think like because I'm successful now that's why I'm happy. And I was like, bro, when I had a year clean, I was like ecstatic, bro. Like so happy you couldn't even believe it. Yeah. And it's like for me, I always see it like a rescue. Like you know when like a dog gets rescued, there's just like something different about them. Yeah. You know, like at first people are like, oh, like, hey, don't touch that dog. He's a rescue. He like doesn't like people. And then after a while, he's just like, there's just something about them where they're just like
it's like something in their eye.
Yeah, you just like can tell like, dude, this dog like he wasn't gonna make it, and like someone picked his ass out of the fucking.
Bro.
So sometimes like that's how I feel like people ask me, like, oh, did you ever think like this would be it? I was like, bro, I used to like dream about like having a job, like a job. You know
My biggest thing was dreaming, like, being like, I wonder, it had been so many years, and like, I'll get to that, but like, it had been so many years that I was using, and that I had like, and this was like my barometer, like pills every single day, that I would fantasize and be like, wonder what it's like to just be clean and not have to take all these drugs to do everyday things like go to work, to feel normal, to go to the gym, to go to go to the movies, to go to a concert, whatever. You know what I mean? Because going back to what I was saying, it started little by little. And then, I would say, oh, well, it's the weekend. So it's the weekend. So why not? And then it turns into like a Sunday. Yeah. And then that's not so much the weekend, even though it is. But then it turns into like a Tuesday. And then it's like, oh, where's Wednesday? It's the middle of the week, dog. So before you knew it, I can't even think when, but it must have been by the time I was like 25, 24. It was easily an everyday thing. Yeah. And then, you're talking a lot of wasted time, a lot of money. I mean,
because I remember like sometimes I feel like you don't think of it this way, but like there was a period of time when like your name was mentioned. Yeah. It was followed up by like, oh, he's all on pills. Right. And I don't think like that. I feel like
it hurts to admit that like that probably was so. Yeah. Because it's like, that's a hurtful thing to hear about yourself.
Because I remember even when you worked at Moderano's, I remember someone would be like, oh, yeah, doesn't Rene work there? And someone would be like, oh, yeah, isn't he like all on pills? And like I think at the time you would probably think that like no one thinks of you like that.
Not really. No, absolutely not. Especially because of the fact that I kept it such a secret for so many years. Yeah. It was never. Not. Yeah. Well, I tried my best, right? I'm probably not the best secret keeper. But it was a thing where it was like, I never wanted anybody to know that kind of shit, especially at the frequency that I was doing it. So it was always, and again, the disease of addiction is just a motherfucker, bro. So it finds different ways. With me, it allowed me to open new businesses, start new businesses, get into relationships, be successful, buy a car that I love more than anything in the world, like not the car of my dreams, but a car that I really, really love. Yeah, of course. An expensive German car. And all the while I'm doing things that are just not right, bro. Like I started dating a woman that, like, God bless her heart, loved me to death. I cared about her, but the feelings were just never quite mutual, right? And these are like the 3 pillars that I talk about that are like the most like very, like severe traumatic experiences in my life. So we were together for a couple of years, but I was always with her kind of like for the wrong reasons. She always was so good to me, but I never had the same feelings for her that she did for me. So I was with her for the wrong reasons. Long story short, she gets pregnant. So I'm like, okay, well, I got to kind of put my happiness aside because I got to do right by this kid. I got to do right by her. I got to propose, then.
How did you feel about being a dad and having a family?
So at first you're shocked, just like any other guy that kind of gets hit with that upside the head randomly without planning it. And you're just fear and this and that. So I was like, I can't believe it. And then you just start to warm up to the fact that you're like, this is actually pretty cool, bro. Like, I'll be able to handle it, bro. I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm going to be a good father. At least that's my plan. Yeah. I'm going to do whatever I got to do for this kid. I'm going to work hard and keep doing what I got to do for this kid. But like, you just kind of go with the motions. So now we get engaged, the whole 9. The baby is born July 4th, 2017. August 26th, 2017, I'll never forget, it was a Saturday, McGregor Mayweather fight. My best friend, my entire life. I'm talking about like a brother. I'm talking about like I've heard you talk about Carl. That's a very close friend of yours, which is shout out to Carl, one of the greatest people I ever met in my entire life. So his wife calls me and he's like, "Hey, I think you need to call. I think you need to come over." He was actually out of town, like for work. I just found text messages about an affair with your girl and my husband, which is your best friend. I'm talking about from when I was 10 years old, bro. Like somebody I would have died for. At the time, he was having problems with his wife, and I was like, "Yo, why don't you just stay at my house till you get it figured out? If you decide to leave her, you know, I'll support you. If you decide to stay with her, like I got your back as well. But like, you're not gonna go stay at your mom or your dad's, bro. We're like already old now, dude. Like just chill here till you get this figured out." Turned out, so I go and see it. I read it. I'm like, okay, it's obvious. I call him out on it. He denies it, whatever. I confront her. She confirms it. Now all of a sudden, so the baby now is a month and a half old. Yeah. But it never crossed my mind
that it could be his.
That it could not be mine or it could be his. Like, I think it took a couple of days to where I was like, what if this kid's not even mine? Because her mother's like mulatto with light eyes, and that's how the baby looked. So it wasn't like, well, how could you not know? Can't you see the difference? You couldn't tell.
Yeah. So I remember I was friends with you like on Instagram. Bro, at that the time, was just and like, I remember you like having the kid, posting the pictures. At
that point, I was ecstatic. I named the child.
Yeah, you were.
I picked the day she was born for July 4th because it was like towards like around that time, and I was like, no. If we're already going to be coming up on July 4th, we're going to get induced on the 4th because that's what her birthday's going to be. And then every year on her birthday, she's going to have fireworks and she's going to have a party and this, that, and the third. Like, how cool is it for your birthday to be on July 4th? So I was like, we're doing it July 4th. By that point, I was ecstatic. My mom was ecstatic. My sister was like, I'm an aunt. My father was like, oh, cool, grandparent. All my family in Chile was like, oh, my God, this baby. We're Latin family. Everybody's real close, you know? So then I'm like, I got to get a paternity test, bro. I was like, but in my mind, I was like, there's no way. I was like, all right, the affair, this, that, and the third, I can take that. I see that that's obviously so, but you know what I mean? Not this. Sure enough, I go get in the paternity test and I read it. I open it in an email. I'll never forget. I was with my best friend in Tampa. I open it. And
Your
I'm like,
other best friend, just so people know.
Yeah. Good. That's a good clarification there. To this day, one of my best friends all my life. And I'm like, all right, bro. I'm like, this is it, dog. I'm like, this is it. He's like, man, just open that shit, bro. He's like, that's your kid, bro. Ain't no fucking way. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I think we were at a country club in Tampa because I left town. And I open it, and there was like, Rene Redondo, da-da-da-da-da-da, so on and so forth. You are 0.00% paternity to this child. And it was like, bro, it was like the world stopped still. It was like if you sucked all the air out of the room, bro. And then, like, you know, when you do a duster, anybody that's done a lot of drugs in the past, you suck it in and everything starts going, wah, wah. It was like that, bro. And I must have read it. I must have closed it and opened it, closed it and opened it, closed it and opened it until finally, like, I was like, Will, I'm not, I talked to my friend. I was like, I'm not tripping, right? I was like, this says that I'm not the father, right? He's like, he was white. He's like your color, but he was white like me. Yeah. He was just looking at me like this. He was like,
no way.
He's like, I think it says it's not your kid, bro. He's like, you'll be all right, bro. You'll be all right. And I was just like, I couldn't speak, bro. And at that point, I'd been taking pills every day for years. You know?
How old were you?
This was in 2017, so I was 30 because I'm 36 now. So 6 years ago. 6 years ago. It just turned 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember when that happened, it was just like...
That was another thing that, like, broke the internet, bro.
Yeah,
it was just like...
to Rene? And
Rene.
It was his best
And it was like these severe fucking things, bro. And it was just like, how the fuck? And then, you know, looking back on it, I remember being on the beach with Will, or my friend, and I was like, I'm like, how the fuck does this happen, bro? I'm like, how did this happen? How can this be real?
Yeah.
And then, like, I sat about it. And, like, I've been real good about taking responsibility for my own shit. Like, that's one thing I can say. Aside from all my other character defects, one thing I can say is at least be real with myself. Even though drugs do make you lie to yourself a lot, which I did do a lot of as well. But I was like, this is all my fault. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, bro, this is all my fault. I was like, all the times I did this girl dirty, all these years I've been living a lie, pretending like I'm happy and I'm living this perfect life, and I got this big house on plantation, and I'm living this perfect 2-dog picket fence, and I'm in severe drug addiction, even though I didn't tell Will that at the time because he probably would have stepped in.
He didn't know?
No, nobody knew like that.
Wow.
Only like a little handful of people really knew, but not him. And I was like, this is all my fault. I brought this on myself, bro. I was like, all the times I've done all this dirt, all the times I've done all this, you know what I'm saying? Like living a lie, like wasting all this time. And I was like, I pushed her into his arms. Like, he told her whatever he needed to tell her in order to get with her, but it was stuff that like was so. Granted, he was my best friend. I never in a million years thought that he would go and do something like that, especially use that tactic. But, you know, guys will do a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that was like, bro, it was just the most powerful, awful thing that could ever happen, bro. Like, it was literally like losing a child, bro. And, you know, I went from one day I had 2 dogs, a baby, this, that, you know, baby monitors, baby formula, diapers, and living this entire life. And the next day I was at my condo in Fort Lauderdale in complete silence. And I was just stuck with my own thoughts, you know, and everybody was like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you all right? Like, how are you going to handle this? Like, da-da-da-da. I came out on Facebook because I was like, listen, man, I was like, I'm only kind of saying this because, like, I don't want you guys to be asking me about this kid. I don't know. It's not my kid. It's actually my best friend's kid. And everybody was like, oh, my God, how can this fucking be? And da-da-da-da-da. And it was just like a horrific thing, bro. And I think that I really truly think that was like the beginning of the end in regards to like my drug use, because I was already severely addicted to painkillers, but that was like the catalyst that like exacerbated my drug use, because even though I would talk to people the same, I try to treat it. See, all my life when I was faced with problems and adversity, I would find a way to overcome, and I would find a way to make whatever issue was going on better or make it go away, kind of like on my own. And on my own, I mean like with the help of my friends and my family and my support group or whatever, but like I overcame. So when the thing with the prison thing came on, I overcame. With the thing with this baby, I was like, I overcame. And in a way I did, because like as the years went on, I kind of just kept rolling with it. Like, I didn't skip a beat. Like, I was like, I still got to go to work. I still got to make money. I had 2 businesses. I started my new career, and I still had my other businesses, because at this point I had smoke shops and cell phone repair shop and stuff like that. So it was like, now it was like, I got to keep it rolling, bro. I was still partying. I was still doing this, but I was a mess. At this point internally, like, see, and the things with my drug addiction, it was like really, like, it would just chip away at me, like little by little by little, day after day. It would just slowly just start to take away things in my life, both material and like my own self attributes. Like, all my life, I like to think of myself as like charismatic, funny, endearing, a loving person. I really love hard. Like, I'm a Leo. If anybody believes in horoscopes, like Leos are, you know, I love hard. Like, I really care about my friends. Like, I'll die for my friends. Like, I've done things for my friends that, like, I was always the person that, like, when my friends had a problem or if there was something going on, like, they knew that they could come to me at any given time. If you needed money, if you needed a shoulder, if you need somewhere to cry, if you need somewhere to stay, I'll give you the shirt off my back. And that's the thing with a lot of addicts that I come to find out, that so many addicts, that's really how we are.
Even during like active addiction, like I might have fucked over and robbed a lot of people. But like Jeremy and Carrie were like my ride or die.
I got 1 pill left, bro, and I'm fucking sick. I'm gonna split it with you, bro, and I love you. Yeah. Just don't forget that I had your back when you needed it.
I remember always thinking like, well, out of everyone in that situation, I think if I could pick anyone to be, it would be you, you know?
I mean, I forgave them immediately, bro. I even in my Facebook post, I was like, to the girl, I was like, you know, we had some good times. Like, I know that you're not a bad person. You just made a horrible mistake, and it's a mistake you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. And I just wish that you hadn't chosen that. And I was like, to my best friend of over 20, 25 years, I was like, bro, I love you, bro. I was like, you were a great friend to me. And this one thing that happened, like, doesn't define like our whole friendship, bro. Like, you had my back through so many times. You did a lot for me. Your family did a lot for me. Like, till this day, I still love him. I wonder about him all the time. his kids are my god kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I was around those kids when they were babies, and now they're like 10 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love those kids. And they were my family, bro. Like his mom was like my mom, and his dad and his stepdad and his stepmom, like they were like my family, bro. Like I had nothing but love for them. Like I really did view them like as my family because I never had family here. I only had my mom, sister, and my father. So to me, they were like my family. And then it all went away. So at that point, bro, I'm taking like, I would say probably like 6 to like 12 Percocets a day. Whether they were 10s or 30s. Maybe if they were 30s, I was doing a little less. But, bro, I'm like at 100 to 150 milligrams a day. Every day. I mean, you're talking like a $40,000 a year habit. Yeah. They weren't cheap, bro.
Yeah, at that time, they were a lot of money.
They're 30. I hear you talking about 9, 10s, and 8s, and bro.
7.
I was like,
There
bro.
were 7 when I started.
I would have pulled up with a fucking garbage bag and filled that shit, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you're talking. So the disease of addiction
so
just.
2017, I probably had like 7, 8 years clean.
No, you had probably like 9.
9 years clean. 2000. I got clean 2008.
8. So like 9 years clean.
9 years clean.
And at that point, we were even doing business.
Yeah.
Because I had my smoke shops.
I remember
You're like,
that.
yo, you want to come to my rehabs? Because I know that I see you going. I used to get a big luggage bag and fill it with vapes and take it to treatment centers. Yeah. And it was so ironic, bro. I would go up in there and I'd be like, damn, look at these guys. I'd be high. I'd be on like, I would be high. Put the Visine in and I'd be dressed nice, whatever. No one would be able to tell. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I don't know.
No one really told. I just knew because I knew of you, so people would be like,
plus my eyes are light, and it's just like, bro.
No one really tell. But I remember like
there was pictures and days where I look back, I'm like, bro, I look bent.
Yeah, now if you see
right.
But like when you're on drugs, people just think you look like that.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing with my family because it'd been so many years, and I had gotten so good at masking.
Yeah.
That I was always like that.
Yeah, and you would still show up for everything.
I show up for everything. My family, even to this day, even then, like I was always like, I'm the biggest family guy that there is, bro. I do everything with my family, bro. Yeah. My family is everything to me. And now I got a daughter, my wife, my fiance, which is the love of my life. Like, if I'm not with my family, I don't feel right, bro. I really gotten to that point where it's just like, even vacations, like I want to be with my family. Like I enjoy being with my family. I talk to my dad every day. My mom is my best friend. Like I can't live without my family. My sister, I love her to death. I can't be without them.
I remember there was a time where your sister, because me and your sister became friends. Like later on, I think I think like we knew each other in high school, but I think we became friends probably when I had like 5, 6 years clean. And I remember this one time she was like, "Can you like what do you think about Rene?" I'm like, "He's addicted to perks," and she was like,
"There's no messing with it."
Yeah, it's like he's addicted to perks, and she'd be like, "Well, like, family want to know more." I'm like, "That's
There's nothing to know."
Yeah, she's like,
"Families are in denial too."
Well, they want to know like how much he's doing or how bad. Like, if you're physically dependent on opiates, you're in the category of physically dependency. Yeah. It's not like if you're physically dependent on opiates. That's all they could be.
People don't understand. Bro.
Yeah, they just think like, well, is it like that
for fun? Is it? It's part of a party, a party thing.
Is it like a thing that he's gonna? That's like, dude, if you're dependent on opiates physically,
you're gonna probably need professional help.
Yeah, it's not like you're just like he's probably tried to come off them
and he can't
100 times. And now he's to the point where he's like, this is just part of my medicine regimen to take
every day.
And he's probably not even seen it as getting high. He just takes them to function.
There's a mixture of both.
Yeah, you know, but it's probably like, well, I take them to function and then I do a little more to have fun, you know?
Exactly.
It's like, you know.
To feel that.
Yeah, it's like driving. It's like you press the gas a lot or a little, you know? Yeah. But you're always
and at that point, she would like dispatch you to me. Yeah. And then like you would come to my shop or like you would say, what's up?
She would be like, can you
and you went from like Bryan the crackhead to me to like Bryan the narc. Cause I'm like, this cat's been clean all these years and he works in treatment. I'm like, he's gonna fucking know. So I would see you and I'd meet you like at like our friend's house. Yeah. I remember that one time we were playing pool. Yeah. And then bro, I was on all kinds of shit at that point. I was like, well, this was like a few years. Now we're rewinding a little bit. But we're drinking and fucking blow and the pills were involved and fucking we're having a good old time. And then you show up and I was like, hey, what's up, Ryan? I was just like, I'm not looking at him in the eye. I remember even saying to my friend, like, you think he knows we're fucked up? And he goes, of course he knows. Yeah. I'm like, he don't know. How's he gonna know? He's like, bro, look at us, bro. We don't. We're partying, dude.
Yeah, it's interesting because like people went from being like, oh, Bryan's whatever.
It took people so long to get used to.
Well, I think when I had like a year, 2, 3, people were like, "Oh, it's a phase," or "How long is he really clean?" Even 4 years, bro. There was
because you were so bad that like,
bro. There was a
like
time.
me.
There was a time I had 5 years clean. I was at LA Fitness, and I came out the bathroom, and this kid was like, and I was like, "Yo, what's up?"
What
Like,
are you robbing lockers?
no, I was 5 years clean.
I know. I'm saying that's what he thought.
I came out the locker room and we like bumped into each other, and he was like, "Yo, are you
breaking into cars or
He's
something?"
like, "Are you okay now?" And bro, I've been clean 5 years.
It's sad. I mean, we
but
laugh
it's like
about
the last
it
time he
now.
probably seen me, I was probably like at a party with like 30 perks and like crushing them up on the table, snorting like 5 at a time or
bro.
something.
It's a really sad state of affairs. I mean, we laugh about it now, but at the time there was nothing funny about it, bro.
Yeah. And even then, like when people, because I remember like K-Rod would clown me and be like, "Oh, bro, you really smoking crack?" Like laughing at me and shit. And I love Kevin, you know, but it's like there was that time where a lot of people were like I was a circus show.
It was. That's what I'm saying. It turns into that.
Yeah, and then
and
like to me, it's like, bro, this is my life. Like, like I'm not doing this to get views on YouTube.
Yeah, like, no,
you know
bro,
what I mean?
like I have a chronic drug addiction.
Yeah, bro.
And I'm
like,
sick.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people don't realize is like even till today, people that aren't well versed in addiction, they say these off-colored remarks or they don't understand anything about it. And you say to them like, "He's sick. Don't you understand? He's sick."
Yeah.
And they're like, "What do you mean he's sick?" I'm like, "He's sick. He's suffering from a disease, and he doesn't even know that he had that's his diagnosis." Like it says, like Usman says in this in all his tapes. That I listen to tapes all the time. He's just like, it's a motherfucker going around life being an undiagnosed addict because people are just looking at you like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And even you don't know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the disease of addiction just really, it stripped me of everything little by little. All my positive attributes that I was saying to you earlier, like I thought to myself that I was ambitious and like it took that away. Like I didn't have that hustle in me anymore. I was always hustling for money and business, and I did well. And my charisma or even my confidence was like the biggest thing. Like I'd always kind of like deem myself to be a confident person. I never had issues with confidence. Like a lot of times, even on the podcast, you hear of people being like, "I never fit in. I never had friends. I always felt like I was an outcast. I always felt like this, that, and the third." Like I never had those issues, bro. Like I was always friends with the cool kids, and I was always in the popular crowd, and I always did well with the girls, and I was always known. So when it started taking away these things, I was like, bro, it got to a point where it was like I was a shell of myself, bro. And I used to look at myself in the mirror and just be like, how did you get to this? And especially when I lost that kid, like I would have dreams, or like I could smell the child on my hand, and my mom, you know, like my mom would speak to like people that like were into like psychiatry and psychology and stuff like that, and he was like, yeah, he hears like phantom things and stuff, like phantom noises and smells and stuff like that, because it's the same. There's no difference if his child died, because he's the father one day and then the next day he never sees that child ever again. Yeah. So it was like a really strong. It was a really like difficult pill to swallow.
I'll hear someone's voice, or I'll see them at the mall or something like that.
Right.
You know?
It's the same thing.
And then I'll be like, oh, that can't be them. They're dead. You know.
So that really just crushed me, bro.
What led to you like getting clean?
So, bro, you know, now we're going into like 2018. I meet the love of my life, bro. The woman that, honestly, like, I don't even know if I would be here or if I'd be clean if it wasn't for her. And
did she know you're on drugs?
Never, bro. Never. We're talking about a registered nurse that has a full-blown fucking degree in nurse practitioning and everything, bro. And it just goes to show, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not even training that kind of shit like that. Never. And she's a normie, bro. She don't get down like that. She never did. She comes from a great family. She had no idea. In her eyes, it was like you smoke weed maybe, or you drink, or like you're shooting heroin. I mean, or coke doesn't count because that's partying. Yeah, that's like in everybody's eyes, right? And she never knew, bro. And then, you know, but I was dying inside, and I was slowly dying inside. You know, 2019 comes around. We're dating for like a year now. Now she gets pregnant. So now I'm dealing with severe drug addiction. Now it's crippling drug addiction because it's I've gone through all my money. Car wrecks, totaled cars. A $40,000 a year habit. Masking it all, lying to everybody, pretending like everything's all gravy, still dying inside, still not healed from what happened with the last relationship and the kid, and now she's pregnant. So now I'm like, it was like, A, what do I do? And B, I gotta fucking stop. Mind you, I caught a charge in 2017 for having like 90 pills on me. So now I'm dealing with the court system. They're trying to put me in drug court. I gave my lawyer a bunch of money. It's one of the best lawyers in Fort Lauderdale. He's like, no problem. They're trying to charge you with trafficking. I was like, get the fuck out of here, bro. I was like, get it down. I was like, that's not what I'm doing. It's personal use. He's like, it's 90 pills. I'm like, that's personal use. He's like, are you an addict? I was like, no. Even though I knew that I was.
You knew it.
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't want to say it to him like that. Because I was like embarrassed in front of my attorney to be like, yeah, this is a big time attorney. I was like, I don't know. These are the stupid things that you fucking. So now I'm dealing with the court system. Now my cars are totaled. Now my girl is pregnant. Now I've blown through all my money. Now they're trying to give me the drug court. So he's like, oh, I'll make it go away. I'm like, yeah, no shit, bro. So I paid you all that money. I don't have a fucking, I don't have a criminal background. He goes, all you got to do is drug court. I go, cool. I'm like, what is it? What do I got to do? He goes, you can't do no drugs for a year. I was like, what the fuck did you just say? He's like, nothing. No drinking, no nothing. He's like, that should be easy. And they'll erase it. It'll be like it never happened. They'll dismiss it.
You're like, give me the 10 years.
I was like, what's the fucking alternative, bro? I'm like, can we pay a bunch of money? Or if we fight it? He was like, you want to go to trial? I was like, can't we? He was like, yeah, it's going to cost you like another 50 grand. And the pills were on you. Yeah, but I was in a fucking rental and da-da-da-da, and it was an illegal search. He's like, we can go to trial, bro. And then what happens if you lose? You're out 50 grand, and now you're a felon, and you might go to jail. And I was like, bro, just give me the drug court then, bro. And then that started a whole nother fucking nightmare. Because I was trying to beat the test, and you've talked about it on the podcast. The
color system.
You fucking talked about it on the podcast. It's the worst. There's very
if you're
little,
using it. Let's clarify that it's the worst if you're using it.
Because it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
For sure.
But it's one of the worst things you could ever be involved in is in being drug court and being active addiction, not ready to stop. Because the amount of
it's like you're already running a marathon and someone's like, okay, now juggle chainsaw. Yeah. And you're like, bro,
blindfolded.
I could barely do the marathon. No chainsaw. Now
like,
it's like, oh my God.
Bro, the level of anxiety, turmoil.
Because it's like every week, every other week, it's like you could go do 5 years.
Every week, bro, they were like, call the color. So, bro, I'm getting up at 7 a.m. I'm like, please, God, don't call my color. And there'd be like 4 or 5 colors, and you'd be like fucking maroon. And then they would be like, today's colors are blue, orange, black, brown, maroon. And you'd be like, fuck. Now you got to run to the GNC store, get the fucking tea that doesn't even work all the time, chug that shit, chug the water, go out to fucking the probation office, which sucks. And it was just fucking hell, bro. Till finally got to a point where I tried to beat it. I was fucking around with the judge. The judge was real nice, real lenient. And he was like, well, if next time you come in, if you don't have any sort of clean, like if you're not good, I'm putting you in detox. I'm like, mind you, nobody knows about my drug addiction to this extent. So I'm like, what do you mean detox? They're like, you're going to go in-house, inpatient, and you can't leave. And I was like, what? So right then and there, it was like the first time I was like, well, I got to stop. I'm going to stop on my own. And it was fucking miserable, bro. It was hell. I was so sick, bro. But I did it, bro. I was like getting up in the morning and I was chugging a lot of water. I started working out, this, that, and the third. I went through those first 5-6 days of hell and I was out. I'm like, all right, I'm on the fucking up and up. I'm stopping. I pissed a couple times. I was good. I went in front of the judge. He was like, I can't believe it. He was dumbfounded. He was like, I can't believe it. He's like, all right, we'll see how this goes. That probably lasted like another month max. Till finally I had another court date and then I didn't go and he sent out a bench warrant. So now I got a warrant. My girl's pregnant. All my money's out the fucking drain. I'm not doing anything I'm supposed to be doing. I'm a fucking...
This is during the pandemic.
This is right before the pandemic. Now all of a sudden, I have the baby shower in March and the fucking pandemic hits. And that just turns So let me backtrack a little bit. It had gone from the 30s, the Roxy's, to this white powder
You always say
capsules. Yeah. Yeah. Which till this day I didn't put 2 and 2 together that it would be fentanyl. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I have no explanation
you think
to
you're
give.
just like in denial that you couldn't.
I don't know what
you
I
didn't want
thought.
to tell yourself. It was
I don't know what I
fentanyl?
thought. I really don't know what I thought.
So you were buying capsules.
They were capsules.
And they were opiates. And in your
Right.
mind, you were like, they're crushed up Roxy's?
No, I don't know what I thought, bro. Honest to God.
And you never bought it powder? They were
It was always in
can-
capsules.
Okay. That's a little more professional.
Yeah. It was just, I could keep it in my wallet, almost like a high-end drug user.
So wait. When you started buying these capsules, did you just go to your same pill dealer and he
Same
was like,
pill dealer.
I just have these now and they're cheaper?
Yeah. $5 cheaper. Literally.
Not even that much cheaper.
No, I was like, all right, well. And that shit sucked, bro, because it never got you high like how you wanted to or how you remember. Plus, my tolerance was through the roof. You go through them, and that high only.
So you preferred the pills?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at that point, it had been so many years, and my tolerance was so high that nothing. You know how in the tapes and how you've always
would you eat them or snort them?
No, you snort them in the bumps.
Yeah. So with fentanyl, they say it's like you have to shoot it to really get the effects.
Right. Well, thank God that's another miracle
Yeah,
from
for
God
sure.
that it never got to that because I probably would have died.
Yeah, I was just telling someone today, like I got lunch with somebody, and it's weird being like a drug addict and being clean out because sometimes it seems like another life.
It seems like a fucking bro. I look back on it, the level of anxiety and turmoil and chaos in my life. It was just. I don't wish it on my worst enemy, bro.
Yeah,
I really don't. And you put it to me so good when I first got clean, bro. And I'll get to that. You said to me something that to this day, 3 years later, I'll still never forget. You'd be like, bro, you could have financial problems, you could have marital problems, you could have, you could have work problems, you could have relationship problems, but there is no problem like a drug problem.
Yeah.
And that shit hit me so good, bro, because dog, I honestly would not fucking wish that shit on my worst enemy, bro. The pandemic hit. Now I'm fucking, there's nothing to do. I'm in the house. My girl's like 6-7 months pregnant.
Wow.
She's working trauma at the ER. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not even me anymore, bro. I'm like just a fucking loser at this point, bro. Like I'm not making much money, if any at all. I'm like burning through everything, March, the pandemic hits, and now my baby's it's coming in May. And I'm like, what are you going to do? I was like, you have to stop. And we always put these deadlines in our head, which to addicts is the stupidest fucking thing in the world. And I remember begging it. I remember praying to God every night. And I'd be like, God, I always thought in my head that it would end with me getting pulled over. Because I'm pretty sure my license was revoked too. And I had a warrant. So I'm like, I'm going to get pulled over and I'm going to go to jail and this is all going to come to an end. And it never happened that way. So I would pray and be like, God, if you can get me out of this hell.
Do you want me to get the editors to throw the milk video up here?
I don't know, bro. I don't know if I'm ready for that, bro. Because that part of the story is coming and it's just like, I don't know if people are even ready to see me like that, bro.
Yeah.
Because it was so sad, bro. And, and now my baby's born, and I'm using throughout the labor, throughout the birth. The hospital's on full-blown lockdown.
Yeah, when people say that, they always say it real shameful. Like, bro, when I was using, I got high before my baby was born.
Before, during, and
I'm
after.
Duh. To me, I'm like, well, what are you going to do?
What are you going to stop?
Oh,
I would have fell over on the floor.
Exactly.
But even through all that,
did it feel like
I
in
deliver,
Goodfellas?
Huh?
Did it feel like in Goodfellas?
Exactly like that. Or like in Blow when he's just sitting there and he's just like, you need to fucking. It was like, in a way.
Yeah, you're just all sweaty and
this was at the very
up.
end of my using, bro. So I was at like my wit's end, dude. I was just a fucking mess. But all the while, somewhat keeping it somewhat together. Mind you, no one's allowed in the hospital, so on and so forth. When my daughter came out, it was like, after everything I had been through and like all my drug abuse and like everything that I had lived with like my ex, when my daughter came out, it was like I couldn't believe it, bro. I was like shocked. I was like all the pain that I have lived through and like I had dealt with. I'm like, it like brought me to this. And like in my mind, I knew that like God has sent me her to like make me better, like get me clean somehow. But I didn't know how it was gonna happen. So, fast forward like 2 months, the baby's born. I'm like a fucking raging mess. The pandemic is in full swing, bro. It's the weekend of my birthday, July 26th, 2020. And I go out to him and he's like, hey, I got some new shit. And I was like, all right, so then just give me that, bro. The shit you give me now sucks. I can't fucking get high. I got to use it like every 30 minutes or I feel like shit. He's like, yeah, try this shit. I was like, my cousin brought it from up north and da-da-da-da. And it was like a gray powder. Bro, I remember just taking like a bump of that. And then I got home. And like that's about it that I could remember, bro.
Because it was days, right?
So that put me into like some sort of like a fucking coma, like not a coma. Let me use my words properly. It put me into like a stupor, like and a daze, blackout? Like a zombie Xanax blackout from like that Friday till that Monday.
Wow!
And I missed my birthday.
Were you doing more the whole time?
So I think allegedly, even though I don't remember, at some point my mom had caught me doing more. So I think I might have done a little bit more, but I think that shit really was that strong. That I don't think I had to do that much in order to get to that level.
So I remember, for people know, like opiates last like 8 hours. You know what I mean?
But this wasn't just any opiate.
Yeah,
because once I Googled it and I came back to
the Gray Death.
They called it the Gray Death because I didn't even know what it was. I was like gray opiate powder. That's all I typed into Google just to see what would come up.
Yeah.
And it said, and the first 6 entries were like gray death, gray death, gray death. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, what the fuck is this? I clicked one of the articles and there was like responsible for dozens and dozens of deaths in the South, in Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. And be on the lookout, be careful, beware, do not use, do not shoot, do not use, let alone shoot. You will die instantly. People are dying. People in the middle of the pandemic. And so in the description, it said that it was a mixture of like carton fentanyl, which is like 100 times more powerful than fentanyl. And some like U477 synthetic. That was the actual name of it from China.
Miss Dean's son died from like a synthetic Xanax. That bro, it's crazy, bro. Like these people should be murdered. Like there's a company. I googled the company. And bro, they're selling this stuff online. Right. They sell it as a supplement. Right. You can Google the company, and you could go buy it right now. Right. And like, it's
crazy these loopholes with like the internet, bro.
Synthetic. It's like
the shit that comes from China, bro.
Back in my day, we had crack. Yeah. All right. And they sold it on the corner.
It's like, fuck, I missed the good days of heroin, bro. Damn.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I was just done.
You know what bothers me is the racketeering. So like a racket is when you when you front like something's good, right? And it's not. It's like, bro, when you're selling crack, it's like you're selling crack. Yeah. I hate this is gonna help you, and it's fucking heroin, or like some little kid is gonna buy it. Like, it's crazy. There's forums online where it's like young kids like, oh, I did a little bit of this shit and it's fucking super fire. You could buy it right here, and it's like, bro, these people are young. You know? And
they don't know any better, bro. Yeah. And that scares me with my daughter, bro, because it's just like, I much rather the old school days where like you could just go to the hood. Like, granted, you run into all the fucking fears and the dangers of going in the hood, but you were getting crack or heroin. Yeah. And very seldomly was it just killing you like that.
Yeah, it wasn't like it is today. Bro, I know I've had clients who bought cocaine, did a bump in the
I was in treatment with a dude, and he was like, they tested him, and he was like, yeah, fentanyl. He had like 9 drugs in him, but one of them was fentanyl. He's like, I don't do opiates. I do uppers. Well, have you done coke in the last few days? He's like, yeah, a lot. He's like, it's in the coke. And he couldn't believe it. Yeah. And
even you, when you got drug tested, you're like, fentanyl?
Oh, yeah, they were like, oh, you're positive for fentanyl. I was like, what? I was like, does that change anything? Am I allowed to stay here?
They're going to kick me out.
And yeah, and they're like, no, you're fine. Everyone has fentanyl in their system in here. I was like, what? He's like, it's in every drug. It's in every Xanax. It's in every Molly. It's in every. It's in all coke. It's in crystal meth. It's in every drug. And so I just woke up on that Monday, bro, and all I remember was so I came to and I get in a fight with my dad, and like my girl and my mom break it up, and I get a gash on my head. I'm like a raging mess. At that point, I'd been in the stupor for like 48 hours, but they didn't want to call the cops because they knew I had a warrant. So they didn't want me to go to jail, so on and so forth. But my sister was like, fuck that. Get him to jail. He's still aggressive. It's been 4 days.
That's your sister called me and was like, what should I do? Da, da, da. And they were all confused on what to do. And as soon as they told me you had a warrant, I was like,
perfect.
That's the easiest thing. You just call the cops and he goes to jail.
All I remember, bro, was that I came to again that second time. And the craziest thing about it, Brian, was that if they had came 30 minutes ago, they would have Baker acted me and took me to jail or to the hospital and then to jail. But some odd shit happened to where, like, it was like this. I attribute this to God, where it was like this lightning strike that, like, opened my eyes. And the minute that I opened my eyes, my life would never be the same again. Because, like, I was back to, even though I was fucking still high and all the other shit, but I was lucid. And then I woke up and I see this huge cop. When I tell you this guy was like 6'7", black dude, and he had the mask like the cops used to wear from here to here, and he was holding onto his vest. And then I look over, and this is in the middle of the George Floyd fucking things in 2020, and then there's paramedics. So the paramedics was like, hey, bud. And I was like, and I like sit up in the bed, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, why am I at my mom's? What day? What? How many days? What time? I'm thinking it's still like Friday evening or something. And I'm like, what the fuck? But something happened to where I knew what time it was. And he was like, do you know what day it is? And I was like, Monday. Because I think I heard it like in my days. And then he was like, what's your name? I was like, Rene. He's like, who's the president? I was like, Trump. And then he's like, asked me a few more things. And he's like, we legally can't take him. That's the law. If you refuse help and you can answer back to their questions, they can't take you. So then they're like, we got to go. We see this like 95 times a day. We got to go. We're wasting time. It's the middle of the pandemic. There's riots going on. Like, there's crazy shit going on right now. And then the cop and my mom goes, he's got all these drugs. Look. And she's holding him. And cops deal with this every day. And so they're like, just don't. It's not on this person. Just, it's nothing we can do. And then my mom's had my back all my years, would never fucking rap, would never do nothing. She screams from across the room, I'll never forget, he's got a warrant with her fucking broken English, bro. And I looked at my mom and I was like, and I was like, oh, that's it, bro. I was like, there's no fucking around with this. I'm like, let me just get up and turn my hand and turn around. And so the cop was like, give me your ID. Gave him my ID. I'm moving real slow because I'm thinking he's going to beat my ass any minute now. He looks up my thing. He calls into the radio. He's like, all right, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to go home. And he's like, all right, so go home. Get your shit and get the fuck out. And I was like, what do you mean? And then he's like, I was like, I thought he was fucking with me because I thought he was going to take me to jail or beat my, I thought he was like doing something to beat my ass. And I'm like, bro, before I know it, this guy's going to put me through the wall at my mom's condo. I was like, I don't want that. So I'm trying to comply. And he was like, no, put your shirt on. I was like, bro, I'm going to grab my shirts right there. Like, am I good to get up? He's like, yeah, put it on. And they let me go, bro. And because of the fact that it was the middle of the pandemic, they weren't taking you to jail or people even with warrants that weren't like violent and shit like that. And bro, like I said to you before, dude, that was the
when your sister called me to tell me that, I was like, oh shit!
I can't believe it.
So now he's back at house pissed. He's back at the house pissed off that you guys snitched on him,
trying to find the rest of my drugs.
Yeah. So then I was like, oh wow, this is really bad.
This is getting bad. And at that point though, I was done, bro. I was literally done. My baby's in there crying. My wife, my girl is in there hysterical. My mom's in there hysterical. My dad's screaming at my girl, leave this fucking loser. Look at him. How could you be with somebody like this? Get the baby and go. Da da da.
Your dad's saying that.
Yeah. And
how did that feel?
It was bone crushing, bro. It was the worst thing that could ever happen to me, bro. It was the worst. My worst nightmare. My worst nightmare had finally came true, bro. Like all the years, all the bullshit, all the times of using and all the partying and all the shit. Like it finally, like it was either like it was time, bro, to like either put up or shut up. And everybody knew what time it was, bro, and how severe my addiction had actually gotten. And bro, my sister started making phone calls, bro, and at the time, I don't even think I had insurance. I doubt if I did. And like a day or two later, she's like, I got you into a treatment center. And so I kind of wanted to talk about this specifically for people that listen and that are out there, because like we as addicts have this fear of like treatment that is like the greatest fear of them all. Yeah. Because I think it's coupled with the fact that like you're admitting failure, you're admitting your surrender, you're admitting you got your ass beat, and it's the fear of unknown. So when she told me that, I was like, I have a 2 month. And then here comes the litany of different reasons and excuses as to why you can't go. My cats, my dogs, my bird. Who's gonna feed my bird? What about the land? Christmas. The lawn people are gonna be here on Thursday. It's just like the most asinine things, and it's just the disease playing tricks on you, right? And but not me, really, bro. I was so defeated, and I got my ass beat so bad, and like. You know, I always prided myself on like getting up at like the 10 count, but like not this time, bro. Like not this time. And this time I was like, I lost, bro. I was like, I got to get something. I'm like, this is my ticket. And so, bro, I took it with like open arms, bro. I remember you even used to see me when I was in treatment, and I was so happy and grateful, bro. I couldn't believe that like you had done this for me, bro. And like I couldn't believe that like somebody had like reached out and gifted me this, bro. I felt like a sense of like debt, like indebted. I was like, bro, I'm coming here for free. I was like, I don't want to drink the Gatorades. I was like, and all the kids were in there with their insurances, and they're like eating 19 ice creams a day and detoxing all this candy and like fucking 40 Hot Pockets. And I was like, bro, I'm good with like one little meal in the morning. I was like, I'm not going to drink the Cokes or nothing. I was like, I'm just going to mind my business, bro. And so then began my journey of treatment, bro. And it was probably the top 5 best things that's ever happened to me in my life, bro. For people that are struggling with addiction, bro, if you ever get a lifeline to go to treatment, I beg to God that you go, because there are no words to describe what it can do for you. The difference between going to treatment and shutting yourself out from the world for 40 days and having somebody structure your life and help you with the severe illness that you have, as opposed to saying, well, I'm just going to do it on my own and maybe I'll go to meetings, even though that does help. And there are stories of people that do that, and God bless them, because I don't know how the fuck. Nothing could fucking come close to a treatment, bro. Yeah. The things that I learned in there, bro, the experiences, bro, I'll never forget. One of the days we were at the treatment center, and we had like guest speakers. We were there. It was like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and the vans were there. We were loading up. One of the kids got into the van, and he played, and he turned the radio on, and it was Nelly Country Grammar. And I'll never forget, there was a group of like 30 of them, and I was like kind of like towards the back. And Louis Love, one of the realest G's that there is. I was standing next to him. So now they're all like hanging off the van, and they're in the parking lot, and everybody is jamming, and then Nelly's like, I'm going down, baby. Your street in the rain. And then he was like, who said pretty boys can't be wild players? Wild players, okay, corral players down. Dog, the whole parking lot was just lit, and everybody was having. And then Louis looked at me, and he was like, you see that, bro? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, look at that, bro. I was like, that's like 30 addicts that are having the time of their life, that are clean, that are enjoying life. I go, this is what recovery is, bro. This is what life can be like. You don't need that shit. You can be without it. You can live without it. You can be happy. I was like, look at how beautiful that is, bro. And that was something that just like never left me, dude. Yeah. And, you know, I had so many stories, dude. It's the middle of the pandemic. I'm in there with cats from all over the country. You know, a lot of these cats, you know, I'm blessed in so many different ways. I grew up with a father. I grew up with a mother. I can cook. I can cook anything. I know how to like read. I can write. Things that you take for granted, bro. This one kid, black kid from St. Louis, we're always in the pool. He never comes in the pool. I was like, why don't you ever come in the pool, dog? I'm like, don't you have a good time? He goes, nah, I just don't know how to swim. And I was like, you don't know how to swim? He's like, no, I never learned how to swim. And I was
a lot of times the first time I've ever been on a plane.
There was 3 people that never been on the plane from Paducah, Kentucky. Never been to the beach. Never saw the waves. Forget about, there was like 2 or 3 of them that didn't know how to swim. But this kid was like, I don't know. It's like, nobody ever taught me how to swim. And I was like, bro, I would teach you how to swim. And then we would do like our groceries. And then they would fill out like Pop-Tarts, cereal, Mountain Dew. And they would be, and I would be like, bro, you're not getting food till next week, bro. I go, you're going to starve. They would get like 3 frozen pizzas and Pop-Tarts with cereal. Bro, and it was to the point where I was like, dog, let me do it for you, and we'll pull the food, and I'll cook it for you. And then, you know what I mean? Like, you got to get some nutrients in you, bro. I'm like, this has to do with addiction as well. At least I know that much. Yeah. Bro, I'll never forget, we get a steak one time. This is a funny story. So I had, you know, in my country, in Chile, there's a lot of steak eating and a lot of meat. There's a lot of meat in the diet. So ever since I was a kid, I could eat raw steak. I wouldn't eat the whole thing, but I could eat a couple pieces, especially with salt and like lemon. Yeah. To this day, I still love it. People look at me like I'm fucking insane. And then when I eat my steak, I do eat it rare. Yeah. So I also, I was messing with the kids. You know, there's no phones in there, bro. So you're just going old school, bro. You're just talking to people. You're hanging out with people. You're getting to know people. You're not sitting on your phone all day. So I'm like, bro, what would you give me if I ate like 2 big bites of that steak raw? They were like, no way. You're a psychopath. You would never do that. No one will ever do that. Bro, I ate the steak, dude. You'd have thought that they had seen like the second coming of Jesus, bro. They all backed up and were like, I can't believe you just did that, bro. You're disgusting. And, bro, treatment was just, it was one of the most beautiful things, bro.
Yeah, you have a lot of like childhood fun. It's almost like you go to summer camp as an adult that you've never been to, bro. And some people are so bitter and angry. It's
the
like,
disease, bro.
Yeah, you're just like, bro,
I believe it's the disease
for sure.
You've always spoken about, and you always taught me from the beginning that like to separate the two, bro. Like there's the disease, the addict man, like my boy Mikey Ave. Shout out Mikey Ave, one of the greatest people I ever met. And then there's the person, and like there's a difference, bro. Like there's not that person. It's not you. Yeah. And it's a motherfucker because like it really does talk to you in your own voice.
Yeah, and like that's like the turning point for me because when I got clean, my biggest issue was like I wanted to use, but I wanted to stay clean. So it's like I was always should I use, whatever. And when someone said the part of you that wants to use isn't you, that's the disease. Like
that really hit me.
Someone told me like, bro, Bryan wants, you know, to be successful, to go to school, to have a good relationship with his family. Right. You have dreams and you have goals. You know that's...
Which makes perfect sense.
And it's like, you know that's not happening on drugs. Yeah. You know that crack, opiates, even use like drinking. You already know you probably should never drink or smoke weed again. Like you know that those things aren't happening if you're using. Yeah. So the part of you that wants to use is not you. It's the disease. Yeah. Because why would you want to
believe it?
Why would you want to do something that's
Les
only
Brown has a bit about that.
Yeah, of course.
Les Brown has a bit. He's like, it can't be that cracks feel so good. It can't be that coke feels so good. As in, there's got to be something else to it. And so I found that distinction relatively quick. And I truly believe that like the gift of desperation, because I really believe it was like time to put up. I was already 33 years old. I'd blown through all my businesses, all my money. I was like starting from scratch, bro. You know what I mean? I had a great career that I'm still in now by the grace of God, that I had blown away, that I seen friends of mine that I brought into the business skyrocket and become millionaires. And I was none of that, bro. But I had so much love and gratitude in my heart for God having plucked me out of that machine with his claw. You know, with that famous saying that God has a tendency of, you know, grabbing a nobody in front of everybody without asking anybody and making him a somebody. And like, I truly felt that, bro. And then dog, by the grace of God, my fiance gave me like my last chance in essence. She knew that like that wasn't me, that I was sick for many years and that like I just couldn't find a way out. Cause like, even with like the thing with prison or even the thing with like what happened with my ex, and it, like I had overcome in so many other ways, but this was the one thing that like I really, even my therapist said to me like, this is the one thing that you couldn't figure out how to be on your own. And you tried so many different things in so many different ways and nothing could do. And it wasn't until I got professional help that they told that it was.
My sponsor would always say, like, bro, it's like you're going to fight Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And you think
that's the best analogy,
you
bro.
think that, like, just.
This time will be different.
Yeah. That if you just punch hard enough, you're going to knock him out.
And there's no punching hard enough that's ever going to knock him out.
Or be mad enough. Like, if someone was like, yo, Mike Tyson's about to kill your whole family, you have to knock him out. It don't matter what the.
No.
There's no thing at the end of that where will give you the ability to beat Mike Tyson other than training every single day with someone who's a professional and really learning the technique. Because from active addiction, I used to think that, like, I was weak. So I used to always pray for strength. Like, I got to be stronger. I got to be stronger.
The therapist said that to me.
But there's somebody right now who's 110 pounds, who knows how to box, who's not 1% as strong as me, that will knock me out because he might not have the power, but he has timing. Yeah. And it's like sometimes a good timed punch is better than a powerful, untimed
it's that famous
punch.
Saying.
Let's hear
speed. I don't know it. Speed is power or something.
Oh,
I gotta look it up.
But it's like even
power meets precision or something like that.
Even with it's like even with boxing, it's like I always would think that, like, your power is like in your hands. Like you got to throw a good punch, but it's in your hips and your feet. So it's like, legs. To me, it's like,
that's why Mike was so
if
ferocious.
You don't know, you see him explode with his legs. And it's like,
it's fascinating
to learn that, like, oh, the punch comes from your legs. Like, how does that even make sense? But then when you see it, you're like, oh shit. So it's like, when I was trying to do all these things, thinking that the power was in not stopping and like,
right. You made that great analogy one time with the cars.
Oh yeah,
that was the best analogy.
Yeah, the braking.
That it wasn't the McLaren wasn't that it was so much faster than the other cars.
That it could brake.
It was that the brakes work so well.
Yeah, like a lot of times people don't realize, like, what makes a car so fast is how good it could brake. Right. Because even though it's slower than the other cars, the fact that it could brake, it could hit that turn at 100 miles an hour and then come to a better stop.
The other cars can't.
And the other cars, even though they'll beat you in a straight line, if you could brake harder in that corner,
that's a great analogy, everybody, bro.
And my whole life, like, I just thought that, like, because I had so much power and gas that I was gonna be able to do it.
And it's the surrender piece. You know, I had this guy in in detox that was like, "Look, bro, like this whole Latin pride, bravado, that I still remember clear as day, bro. Ben, shout out Ben.
Ben, Rabbi
Harrison, I believe his name is from Riviera Beach. He's a gay dude. Really, really, really knowledgeable guy, bro. Yeah. I was like, you got a sponsor? He's like, yeah. He's like, I was like, your sponsor got a sponsor? He goes, yeah. He goes, you go to meetings, which is a whole nother thing I can talk about. And he was like, all this Latin pride of like being able to do this on your own and like not asking for help and like saying, no, I'm all right. He's like, that shit is going to kill you, bro. I go, you better find a way to put that shit aside and look to your right and look to your left and ask somebody for help, or this shit will kill you. Because you're going to leave your daughter behind because you're fucking too prideful to ask for help. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks, bro. And I was like, you're right, bro. And then, you know, I started to learn that in humility and in asking people for help is the strength. It takes a powerful person sometimes to ask for help or sometimes to admit defeat. And
but it's like we do it in everything else, bro. It's like if you want to like learn how to work out, you ask someone who works out. Right. If you want to like learn about cars, you take a car to a mechanic.
Why not addiction?
But like with addiction, you're like, oh no, everyone's like, I got this.
Yeah, no, I got it.
And not like, let me ask the guy who's been on heroin for 20 years and is now clean 20 years.
And if all the times people used to ask me like, are you all right? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm all right. If I could have just said like, no, I'm not all right. And there's like there's like this famous Ed Reed. I know you don't watch sports, but like he's a Hall of Fame football player for the Canes, and then he went to play for the NFL. He's got a famous bit that he was just like, you know, so-and-so asked me if I'm all right. It's like, no, I'm not all right. And then so, you know, but you're in addiction, that thought never crosses your mind. Yeah. Asking somebody for help, like sometimes never really crosses your mind. The simple act of saying to a family member or a close friend, like, bro, I'm in severe addiction. Like I really need help. Like never crosses your mind.
Yeah. Well, you got to keep that mask on. It's just such a
motherfucker, bro. You got to keep that mask on, bro. And it wore me out, bro. It really just...
So a lot of my friends that have died, like, dude, March, one of my closest childhood friends died. One of my closest childhood friends, Tony Calindres, died. Like a lot of my friends
Tony, bro.
That
he was a fucking legend.
Yeah. People that I grew up with that, you know, we used together and all this stuff. Like a lot of them just didn't think like the 12 steps were cool. They weren't into it.
You also don't think it'll ever happen to you, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like that's not just with drug addiction. That's just people in general.
Oh, for sure.
You never really think that it's going to happen to you. Like, I never thought that I would end up the way that I did, like in my mom's bed with cops all around me in the middle of a pandemic with a 2-month-old. Like, that's not going to be me. Like on death's door, you know? And I truly believe that addicts, like being that, like, you know, when you face the devil, like face to face and like you're at that gutter point, like, I that's why I believe sometimes that, like, so many addicts are such beautiful people. I mean, there's people of all kinds in every single facet, but addicts, you know, I come to find out that are honestly some of the most beautiful people. I can honestly say I've been around a lot of impressive people. I've been around, I've had the fortune and the blessing to be around a lot of very successful people, a lot of rich people, a lot of people that have done very monumental things with their life in business and wherever else. But never like how in addiction, bro, because the level of humility, intelligence, and I also believe that people's emotional intelligence in addiction is extremely high. Not everyone, but I've come across a lot of people that are like that. So then I got introduced to like NA, and I was like, bro, you would have thought that that was like a death sentence. I was like, bro, I never want to do that shit.
Go to these meetings.
You know, I come from that old school background. Like, I'm not going to be in this room full of losers and people that are fucking in there that are fucking drug addicts and this, that, and the third, bro. And I'll never forget I ended up going, bro, and it was like some of the coolest people I've ever met in my life, bro. And it was people that, like, it was all people like me, dude. Like, you, when you're in a classroom and you got the one or two kids that are always disrupting the class and they're throwing pencils at the ceiling, it's just a big room of those people. Yeah. But those people, that doesn't mean that those people are bad, stupid, or indifferent. They just deal with things in a different way. And I've met some of the most successful people, some of the most genuine people. I remember I met Rene walking. He was just like, oh, me and you, bro, where are you coming with me, bro? I'm picking you up, and we're coming to meetings together, and this, that, and the third. And I was like, bro, I don't even know who you are. Yeah. And he's like, I'm coming to wherever you're at. I'm picking you up, and we're going to meetings. And he started bringing me to meetings. And I was like, what the fuck is that? I'm not used to this kind of shit. You know what I mean? And it was just
like a lot of unconditional love.
Bro, it was such, because it's so much understanding, bro. Like, I don't gotta know you on a personal level to know you. I know you. I know what you're thinking, bro. You're a month clean. I was a month clean. I know how you feel. I know what your thoughts are like right now, bro. I know what your anxiety is like. I know the fear you have. I know because I've been there, and I know that you're so fearful of like what's to come and what is this person going to think, and how am I going to still come to these meetings, and how am I going to make it work? Where's the money going to come for the rent? And I got a kid, so how am I going to feed that kid? You're full of fear and anxiety, and I know how you feel. So I'll be there for you, bro, until you can you can do it for the next person, and so on and so forth. And it was and it's a beautiful thing, you know, that is in NA. You know what I mean? And I could say that the last 3 years, bro, like, it's just, you know, the way that how much it's brought my family closer, dude. Like, the relationships that I have in my life, the relationship I have with my daughter, you know what I mean? Like, I'm in her life every day. I'm the most constant thing in her life, along with her mother. But, like, I drop her to school. Sometimes I pick her up. You know, I do everything and some. Like, any minute that I get that I have free, I'm with her. I want to be with her. I enjoy being with her. My kid is like she's like a larger than life. If you ever get to see my kid like online or whatever, she's a very she's special in my eyes and in a lot of people's eyes. And you know, and I have you know, I have this appreciation for life, you know, on such a grand scale. There's a dude in my office. Shout out Scott. He told me to shout him out. And he comes from fucking New York, and he was bad for a long time too. And he's just a happy guy, bro. He's like, people don't understand, bro. People don't understand. Like, we live in our dream, bro. Like, we used to wish about days like this. We used to dream. He just bought this bomb ass house. He's got a beautiful wife and these beautiful kids, and he's extremely successful. And he's like, fuck all that, bro. He's like, the best thing in my life is that I'm clean, is that I don't have to deal with that shit. It's like, I don't wish that on anybody, because it's just such a horrible way to live. And you know, I'm just content with my life, bro. Like, you know, and shout out to you, bro. I really appreciate that. Wanted to come out. I'm glad that I thought about it just now, bro, because I wanted to, like, you know, reserve like a minute or two, because I've seen every single episode on Hell Has an Exit, because like I remember you pitched it to me when we first started, and I was just like, yeah, fuck yeah, bro, there's nothing else like that, and you know, this, that, and the third, and to me it really is good because it's entertaining.
I think I started it right when you got out of treatment.
Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah,
it was right after 2020. And so you've had a lot of your friends on here, and you've had a lot of acquaintances, and you've had a lot of people that you know that know you, but like I haven't heard a lot of people really say like who it is that you actually are and like what you actually do for people, bro. But like for people that are out there, because I know you got a lot of people that like reach out to you that like are in different states or in different places that don't know you on that level, bro. And like I can honestly say, bro, thank you from the bottom of my heart, bro. And I know that I speak for dozens of people or hundreds of people at this point that you've personally helped and that you've helped change and transform their life for the better, bro. And there's no words.
I appreciate that.
For what you do. Even my mom to this day, she's like, you can't do no wrong. And my mom's like, oh, Bryan, oh, well, Bryan's doing this now, and Bryan's doing he's not in treatment no more, and he's got a new job endeavor. She's like, it don't matter, papito. Bryan's good with me forever. He can, you know what I mean? And you've helped a lot of people bro, in this area, and a lot of people look up to you, bro. And I think it's like a really fucking cool thing that you've done that for a lot of people, bro. Because like even you said in your speeches, you said, you know, it's a special motherfucker to just run out of the burning building. Anybody can run out of the burning building, but it takes a special motherfucker to go back and, you know, and bring the rest of the people that are on fire out. And I think that's what you've done, bro. And a lot of people don't know that about you, bro.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And like for me, it's like, man, when I got clean, it made so much sense to me that it was just like watching people use just frustrates me, because to me it's like
it frustrates me too.
It's
now,
like
bro.
It's like, bro,
you don't have to live like
you
that.
can have it all.
Yeah,
you can have your cake and eat it too.
You're running with this you're running this marathon and you got this parachute on you, bro. And that's how I felt all those years.
Yeah, people, you know,
it's like a helpless feeling though, bro.
I always tell people it's like, you know, it's like, bro, if I put a fucking rock in your shoe, you're gonna be like, fuck, bro, this rock sucks. But after 10 years, I'll be like, yo, we're going to take the rock away. And you're like, no, bro. It's my rock, bro. I love this rock.
I wouldn't even know how to walk without it.
And it's like, sometimes it's like, bro, it's like, I've done so many things in my life. And even now, like, this is still, like, my favorite thing to do. Right. Like, the stuff that I do, like, outside of, like, mental health and recovery, it's fun, but it's not fulfilling.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I've done, like, a lot of fulfilling things.
Right.
And, like, when you dedicate your life to doing stuff like that, other things just seem so trivial,
right?
And it's not,
because it's such a monumental thing, bro.
It's different, bro. It's like
when I see people that are extremely successful and that have gotten clean and stuff like that, it's like, and they tell you every time, like, that's my greatest achievement.
Oh, for sure.
Like, hey, bro, you're worth $500 million and you have buildings that have your name on it. It's just like, that don't mean nothing to me, bro. Yeah. The hardest thing I ever had to do was repair the relationships in my life and get clean.
For sure.
And figure out why I was the way that I was. And I just feel extremely blessed, bro.
I appreciate you. So, like, my whole thing is, like, trying to get more people clean.
I know.
You know what I mean? So, like,
there's a few on your radar. I know that.
Yeah, bro. So, like, someone's like, I really do see it like opening up Pokemon cards. Like, I really see it as like one,
like a challenge and like a surprise.
Well, to me, it's like, you know, someone who's using, and like I need to get them clean, and not like in a more of attraction rather than a promotion way,
right?
But to me, it's like I really want to get someone clean that like surpasses everything I've ever done.
Yeah,
you know, like my goal in life is to get someone clean. That's
I think
like,
it's gonna happen for sure, bro. And
I've sponsored some kids that are rock stars. So like, you know, shout out to like Mason and Dean, but like I sponsored these two kids.
They're seeds.
Oh, bro, it's like when you get even Ryan Owak.
Yeah,
bro, Ryan Owak is over here like, you know, taking you to meetings and all that stuff.
Cat.
Dude, when I used to do step work with him, it was so off the chain, bro. Remember. He was so fucking crazy.
Yeah,
and he would just look up from me on the paper like, is this okay? Like, he was just
he's still that crazy.
Like that. And it's like man, it's like some people like restore cars.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of pride in restoring a car because it's like you see what it came in as.
But imagine
but you
if
also
you restore a person.
but you see the potential. So it's like a lot of times people be like, oh, it's a junk car. But like if you know how to restore a car, to you, you're like, oh no, this could be the sick. Like this has
the potential.
The
to be the
potential
greatest
to
car
be.
ever.
Yeah, this is actually what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I really do see myself as like someone who is gifted at like restoring people that everybody else is like, nah,
Throw them away.
Throw them away. It's trash.
Yeah.
To
like,
me, it's
not.
like, oh, dude,
And
that's
you
what I'm
taught me.
looking
You'd
for.
be like, bro. Sometimes we would see like homeless people and be like, bro, that guy in 15 years could be doing a heart transplant.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Shout out Ray Googs.
Yeah.
One of the fucking wildest motherfuckers ever that was a counselor at the treatment.
Yeah.
This guy was shooting dope for fucking 30 years. He's got marks all over his entire body. And he became an attorney when I was in treatment. And he got sworn in 17 years after he got clean. It took him 17 years.
Even my boy Corey Lewis. I remember my boy Corey Lewis when he got his bachelor's degree. Bro, my boy Corey's been going to school for like 12 years.
Yeah. It's like Eric, like E.T.
Yeah, bro.
Thomas.
And it's like, dude, he was taking a couple classes little by little. And it's like, just like addiction chips away at people, like so does recovery, bro.
Yeah.
Like it chips away and it chips away and it chips away. It chips away. Before you know it, you have like this masterpiece.
It really is, bro. And it's the most beautiful thing in the world, bro. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I don't want to say like survivor's guilt, but it's almost just like, bro, like I could have died just like all those other people. And for some reason I didn't, bro. And then you start to think sometimes you get in that you go in that rabbit hole and it's just like, bro, I could have died when my daughter was 2 months old. She would have never known me.
Yeah.
I would have never been able to walk her down the aisle. I'd have never been at any of her graduations. She would have been raised by another man. And why? Just because I didn't want to because I wanted to get high and I couldn't ask for help. And you know, and it was just such a motherfucker, bro. We think we got control of this thing and we really don't. And I just wish that every time we say our prayers at meetings and stuff like that, that like we reach somebody that is, you know, out there that's struggling, because there's so many people, bro.
Yeah.
And I just wish it just wasn't like that, bro. But in America, we just have this insatiable appetite for drugs, bro. I think that we're like a depressed nation.
Yeah,
and I think that's what fuels
you know,
our drug
we just
addiction.
overdo everything. We overdo the cars. We overdo eating. So it's like,
but there's gotta be a reason why we're using drugs at this rate, bro. Why? It's deeper. It's like Les Miles says.
You think it's deeper?
Les Miles says, bro. It's gotta be. You can't, because crack feels so good.
It kind of does, though.
Not really.
But it's like
sounds like I've never done it, but from what I hear,
it doesn't sound fun.
Doesn't sound so fun, dude. But then you see videos and like news articles of Hunter Biden, and that shit looks fun.
Yeah.
I guess when you're Hunter Biden,
it's fun.
It becomes fun.
So it's not so much that it's fun. It's just like it bites you.
It does. I've heard that about that, and thank God.
But it's like yeah, bro. It's like
shit.
It's like we overdo cars, we overdo eating, and whatever. To me, like why people do drugs is like I could care less. To me, it's like let's just get you off the drugs.
Yeah, bro.
You know, so it's
all
like
solution based, bro.
Because as many people as we could get off drugs, like now other people see that they can get off drugs. And then they become like an asset in society. They start helping other people. Yeah. Then if you're on drugs, you know who to call to get off drugs.
Well, people call me all the time, bro. Yeah. And you know, I always had that attribute from when I was a kid, from like I had told you before. And you know, I'm not the best at so many other things, but I feel like my strongest suit is people. Yeah. And like knowing people and like being able to like see people for who they are. Why they do things, what they may do in the future, why, you know what I mean? Like so on and so forth. Like I believe that I'm good at people. And, you know what I mean? People come to me a lot for different things. And I can't say that I have helped and lent a helping hand to a lot of people, to a good amount of people. I shouldn't say a lot, but a good amount, a decent amount of people that are clean today, bro. And it's one of the greatest feelings in the world. Because there's no problem like a drug problem, bro.
For sure. Hey, I appreciate you coming on the show. I love you very much. And I'm excited for this to get air. Hey, thank you, bro.